This is a 30-second heads up for the TV. I call the July 23rd, 2024 Historic Preservation Board meeting to order. May we start with a roll call?
Kyle Waters,
Present.
David Burke,
Present.
James Murphy,
Present.
Gabriel Javalski, excuse me.
Here.
Kristen Kellogg.
Here.
Let the record reflect that Amanda Skyer, Trent Swift, Jeff Shelton, and Gerald Bucksbaum are not present.
Thank you. Does city staff or anyone on the board have changes to the agenda this evening? If not, may we have a motion to approve?
Excuse me,
agenda?
Chair.
Oh,
There is one change to the
Okay.
agenda. Item 6, the Preservation Awards, unfortunately must be postponed. 2 of our recipients are unavailable to receive their awards this evening.
okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Which case is that one?
It is the Preservation Awards, item number
Oh.
6. Yes. So with that alteration, may we have a motion to approve the agenda for this evening?
I make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Are there any changes to the minutes from the June 25th, 2024 Historic Preservation Board meeting?
No.
Seeing none, may we have a motion to
I
approve?
move the after-action minutes for the June meeting.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
And now may we have the report of the Historic Preservation Planner, please?
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Board. Good evening, residents. Our staff report for July 2022, we have reviewed and approved 167 Level 1 permit reviews, 0 Level 2, and 2 zoning permit reviews. The City of West Palm Beach, along with many other cultural institutions, is a proud sponsor of the National Alliance for Preservation Commission Forum Conference to be held in West Palm Beach this very July 31st through August 4th. I can provide anybody with links or applications as you care to join as a participant or as a spectator, if you will. I encourage every board member and everyone in the public to attend, since most of the preservation planners throughout the nation will be here in our city and exploring our successes and our challenges. The request for qualifications for updating the 2005 design guidelines, deadline submission was May 31st. We did not select a firm. We're going to reissue the RFP with revised scope of work and budget. And that is the end of my report this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Salata. And I am interested in the conference, so if you could send out that information for the registration, that would be helpful.
Yes, I will.
Thank you. Now it is time for the remarks by the chairperson. The matters before us are quasi-judicial in nature. That means that we make our decisions based on competent, substantial evidence that comes before us. We ask that you keep this in mind when making your comments. How this works is that the applicant will make a presentation of up to 10 minutes, 15 minutes if there is a demolition. Afterwards, staff will make a presentation. After staff, we will open it up to public comment. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. The applicant may have a short rebuttal after the public speaks. To lead into this, we as board members need to disclose whether we have discussed the cases before us with anyone prior to tonight's meeting. So we will start with disclosure of ex parte communications.
As to all matters on tonight's agenda, I, David Burke, have not had ex parte communications, have not received written communications, have not conducted an investigation, have not made a site visit, and have not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
As to all matters on tonight's July 23rd, 2024 Historic Preservation Board meeting, I, James Murphy, have had ex parte communications. I have not received written communications. I have not conducted an investigation. I have not made a site visit. I have not received expert opinions. I hereby request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
As to all matters on tonight's agenda, I have not had ex parte communications, I have not received written communications, I have not conducted an investigation, I have not made a site visit, I have not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
As of all matters on tonight's agenda, I, Gabe Jaroslavsky, have not had ex parte communications, have not received written communications, have not conducted an investigation, have not made a site visit, and have not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of a record.
And as to all matters to tonight's agenda, I, Kyle Waters, have not had ex parte communications. I have not received written communications. I have not conducted an investigation. I have not made a site visit, and I have not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record. Thank you.
Thank you. Now moving on to public comment. We will open the floor to public comment for anyone wishing to speak on an item not on the agenda this evening. Now is the time to do so. All right, seeing none, may we have a swearing in of the speakers. For those of you who are wishing to speak tonight on any of the agenda items, please stand and raise your right hand.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll give tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Thank you. We will start with case number 24-28 for 716 New York Street. Will the applicant please come ahead and give us your presentation? Thank you.
Good evening, board members. Thank you for your time. I'm Brian McCulley. This is my husband, Miguel Plasencia. We purchased this vacant lot in the Grandview Heights neighborhood back in December. Been working with our architect, Steve Yeckes, since shortly after then to develop our home. Miguel has been a resident of West Palm Beach for about 14 years. I moved here about 2 years ago. We're very excited to make the neighborhood our home and be a positive contribution to it. We have a good number of friends in the neighborhood. Miguel lived there for 10 years as a tenant. We have some folks here who may add some comments. But with that, I'll turn it over to Steve.
Yes, as he said, I'm a registered architect for 48 years. I've been living in North Palm Beach County for 50 years. This is a 50 by 120 foot lot. It was previously approved in October of 2018, but nothing was done with it, and it was sold twice and remains vacant at this time. This is a Windows, and I'm an Apple guy, so you have to go to the next one.
I don't know where will this, how do we get it to present?
Well, I just want to get to the next page.
Does it need to be up on the screen?
Yeah, let me talk to me right here. You should be on that screen right
Oh,
there.
there.
Okay, there you go. You just scroll down.
Well, yeah, because I don't need the location. I wanted my stuff on there.
Okay, this is your.
Okay, this particular sheet shows some of the surrounding houses. They're labeled for your convenience. They're basically bungalow-style type houses. There are mostly one-story, but several two-story houses along the street. And the next page shows a couple at 733 and 717 are also two stories. This is a survey showing a 50 by 120 lot. It's a small lot. And this shows the site plan. This new construction consists of two structures. The front has a two-story residence with a pool in the middle, and toward the rear is a one-story accessory structure. Because of the number of bedrooms, we extended the drive to allow for extra parking. It has all the site data on there. This is the first floor plan of the main structure, of the two-story structure. It includes like an office bedroom and a large great room type kitchen with a stair and entrances into the pool area and the side for the car. There's a carport to the bottom of the screen, which is to the left of the structure, and also like a bathroom closet. The door schedule is shown, as is the window schedule. This is the second floor plan of the same building. It consists of 2 bedrooms with a master suite, large closet, a utility room, an open balcony with a spiral stair up to a roof deck, and I'll get to that in a minute. And you look down on the carport below and the pool, as well as the one-story accessory structure. This is the roof framing plan of both structures, and you can see that there's a spiral stair, but there's a railing some 12 feet back, so it's a very small deck, and it's framed in with a railing across the building as well as the parapet walls around, and it's open to below. These are the elevations. The right is the left side, or the east elevation, showing the spiral stair, showing the carport area and the sliding glass doors, which are floor-to-ceiling doors. To the left is the other side of the building. And then you got the right side to the right and the back of the main house, also showing the sliding glass doors and the spiral stair to the roof deck. The next sheet is the elevations, all 4 elevations of the one-story accessory structure. It's used as sort of a guest house and a gym and so forth, and it's in style with the front structure. This is a section of the residence showing that the wall is within the allowable height, wood floor and roof trusses, concrete walls, second and first floor. This is a longitudinal section, shows through the kitchen, the upstairs master closet, and the stair. And this is the rendering from the front view. It's an Art Deco structure with a balcony in front and back. The front one is not covered, the back one is partially covered. And we show bronze ESP frames, which is what Art Deco is doing big time right now, and we integrated the carport into the same band as shown on the front. The next rendering just is an aerial view of between the structures, showing the accessory structure, the swimming pool, a small bar, and a fire pit. And then this is the streetscape of the houses around. And that's the same sheet that we showed you in the beginning with the houses. We're within the allowed lot coverage. We're not asking for any bonuses for that or the FAR. We kept the wall heights within the code. We're not asking for any exceptions to the setbacks. We're within the setbacks as shown on the site plan. And it's a very just clean, simple structure. We think it follows the intent of that particular neighborhood. There are other Art Deco buildings in that neighborhood. You have any questions?
I have a question, Brian. Thank you. Is Brian? Well, I'm sorry. But what was your name?
Steve.
Stephen. Thank you. Steve. Thank you.
Yeah.
How high is the parapet on the principal structure?
25 foot 10 inches.
I'm sorry. How high is it over the from the roof line?
It's,
Is it 10 inches or 3 feet?
3 feet.
Okay, because I think I saw a discrepancy in your drawings. That seems a little high to me, just my initial reaction. I don't know if there's, you can explain maybe justification of why that's so high. The mechanical equipment isn't there, so it's not that you're trying to screen that.
Well, what that does is provide a side railing for the roof deck. And there's a cross railing that goes east to west that is an aluminum rail, 12 feet from the back, but the parapet walls form the barriers from falling off the building around the sides and the rear.
From access from the spiral stair.
Yes.
I see.
And the same thing is done on the second floor to match.
I see on your streetscape, the buildings to the left and the right are one story. You mentioned that there were a few two-story structures around you. Could you
Yes,
point those out on a map?
As I showed you in the,
There's a picture at the bottom of all of those.
there is?
Yep. Yep, here, I'll get it to him. Here, let me get to it.
Yeah, I mentioned that 715, 733, and 717 are two-story structures. One, I think 717 is directly across the street.
And then the fourth one shown here is the one on the back property line, on the street behind.
But you don't have a map that shows where the other two are?
No, but.
So they're, one's immediately across
717
the
is
street,
right across the
one's
street.
immediately.
Actually, there is one.
There's a map
Thank
showing
you.
a two-story one.
The numbers are 736, 17, and 33. So, ooh,
Keep going.
no, that's it. So, you can barely see.
Well, the address of ours is 716. 717
717 is
is a
here,
two-story. 733,
is,
two-story.
it's one of these two
It's the one on
here,
the left, I can see it.
and then one's down here.
Okay, thank you, that's helpful. And then my other question is, you said that this was previously reviewed before the board in 2018. What are the modifications to your application between that 2018 submittal and what we see before us?
This was a totally different application.
So it's just the same site?
It's the same site, and it was vacant then, and it was never developed. So we have a new application with new structures. There were two buildings on it at that time as well.
So what made you decide on pursuing an architectural style like this?
Well, one was the client's desire, and two, I had a conversation with Ann Hamilton at the pre-application meeting, and she said this would be the district to do this. This would be one of the few districts. So we were encouraged by that, and therefore went with this style.
So where in the district, can you show us where in the district there's similar?
I can't. I don't know where the other Art Deco is.
Yeah, we mapped it all. So there's a map, and then we've got, on the following page, we've got pictures of these structures. The X here is the subject site, and then we found 9 structures, well, 8 existing, and one we believe, I think the board has already approved. So you see one here on the street, at the end of the street, and I'll show you the pictures after. That's a 4-unit apartment building, Art Deco style. There's 3 up here to the upper right. There's 2 larger kind of townhome structures up here to the upper left. The Armory building is in the district. This site, number 7, I haven't had a chance to pull the plans, but I understand there's an Art Deco new home site clearing is underway there that's been approved. And then there's an apartment building here at 9. And then these are the pictures. So this first one is on our street, is on the subject site street at the end. These are the 3 structures that were to the upper right of that map. These are the 2 larger commercial structures that were to the upper left of that map. This is that site at 745 Park Place that I believe has been approved for an Art Deco style home. There's the Armory, and this has a lot of foliage, but that's the apartment building on Georgia.
So it seems like a lot of your precedent images that are single-story residences of this style. So there aren't a lot of examples of 2-story structures in this style within the district, correct?
But the condo corner there, those are 3 stories.
And I think you should come up to the microphone for the television. So the applicant was referencing the condos, and I was speaking to single-family structures.
Yeah, okay.
Have you all been sworn in, all 3 of you?
Yes, they were. Yes.
Additional questions from the board at this time?
So what is the function of the roof that you are, you want to put a 3-foot parapet on the roof? Is a rooftop?
Yeah, the function of the rooftop is just a viewing area. You can see the sunset from the roof.
Okay, I think we're ready for the staff presentation. Thank you.
Benjamin Salata presenting HB case 2428, new construction at 716 New York Street. This property is located in Grandview Heights Historic District. It is a vacant lot. The previous HB cases 1963 and 1963A were approved for construction of a single-story bungalow approximately 1,672 square feet with attached accessory structure approximately 384 square feet. This was never constructed. Now, the Grandview Heights District is dominated by craft and bungalow and a mixture of mission revivals. The period significance for these 2 styles is approximately the same, but most of the Art Deco buildings which are shown by the applicant are actually in the bordering districts. But they are more iconic buildings such as the Norton Museum of Art and the Armory Museum. So it exists in the area. This is the site plan, proposed calculations. This is the photo rendering as presented by the applicant, and these are the surrounding properties. This is from HB case 0763 and 0840. This is the former structure in this lot, which was deemed unsafe and demolished. The new request is for an Art Deco style house, approximately 1,092 square feet with attached single-story accessory structure, approximately 630 square feet, and the proposed carport of 81 square feet. This is the floor plan as shown And that's the second story. Proposed north elevation, the south elevation, east, and finally west. This is the accessory structure on all 4 elevations. Proposed roof plan, and the streetscape. We do believe this meets codes 9 and 10, and we recommend approval with 3 conditions. To advise the plans for all structures being both in front setbacks is just difficult to read with the where the plans, like I say, just the size of the file is difficult for us to read. The casement and fixed windows, we recommend silver white finish with low E glass on the front street elevation, and same thing with the exterior doors. Any questions?
I have one. So you are confident that this style residential building in the Art Deco style is compatible with the district that it's in?
Yes.
The calculations, they're incorrect.
There, you found something correct?
Yeah, I did. So what I'm looking at here, we've got ground floor area 1,092. The second floor area 864 for a total of 1,956. There's an additional guest house, 630 square feet and 81 storage. However, the total is only coming up here at 1,722. We've got over 2,600 total square feet. I just don't think the calculations are correct.
We'll look at that again.
Yeah, thank you.
But we did have a review by a zoning planner, and it did meet zoning code, but we'll review that again just to make sure.
Thank you. Yeah, because it's saying total ground floor area is 1,722. If it is correct, fantastic. I think there's an error right here.
Any other questions?
Ben, maybe in my limited time here, I haven't seen active habitable recreational roof decks. They are permitted on the second floor of a 2-story structure, and there's no limitation on area requirements of the floor plate below.
I have not seen anything in the code for that. I think that's a building review, more an historic review.
Any other questions of staff?
I just want to, sometimes I have to think like I'm in 3rd grade still. So the classifications of rooftop deck, answer is yes, it works. We're for it, correct? On staff, I just want to see, are you for the rooftop deck?
I don't have an opinion one way or the other. The rooftop deck, I don't know how many people want to spend time on the roof, especially this time of the year.
Sure.
You know, if it's go up and look at the sunset, that's great. If someone's out there with an umbrella and, cooler, I don't know how that would accept the Davers.
Sure. Thank you. I would just want to focus our energy on where we're given direction and guidance, because there are things, or sticking points. I just figured we'd
Right.
get clarification.
So it sounds like the terrace is allowed as long as it meets the height requirements, that there's nothing specifically in the code about it that city staff is aware of.
No.
I think for our board, we need to determine if the extra 3 feet that are being added, well, it's not quite 3 feet because you would still have the parapet.
Sure.
Or the roof structure within that parapet. But if that condition in and of itself and the increased volume that creates as part of the mass is compatible based on our standards.
I agree.
And we have rejected rooftops in the past.
Any other questions for staff at this time? Okay, seeing none, thank you, Mr. Salata. Seeing none, we will move on to public comment. I have one public comment card here for Mr. William Cross. If you would please come to the podium.
Good evening, William Cross for the record, 714 New York Street. I live immediately to the east of this property. Spoke to you all in December about the metal roof that you were kind enough to approve for me. I'll keep it short. I think this is a unique addition to the neighborhood. I have no problem with the concept of adding Art Deco. As they pointed out, I do live next to a house on the other side, or multifamily on the other side, that has Art Deco elements. And I don't have any objections to that. So if that makes any consideration as the immediate neighbor that has to see it every day, I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there any additional public comment? Yes, if you'll come to the podium and if you can give your name and address, and when you're done speaking, if you'll fill out one of these for our board secretary. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Carl McCaskill, and I live at 715 Park Place since 2013. I met Miguel 10 years ago when I first moved to the neighborhood. He became my friend. I was the best man in their wedding, and they have decided they really love the neighborhood. We walked down every single street a million times, looking at houses, taking pictures of the houses they like. They really like the Art Deco houses that they saw in the Armory Art Center. They love the Armory Art Center, and I think that's where the idea came from. It's just a beautiful neighborhood, and they want to make this their forever home, so they're trying to do it right, and they just, they're really super excited about doing this. It's not, it's actually like something very important for them, so they're trying to make this right, and they also want to make it the most enjoyable that they possibly can. Also, they don't. It's not shown in the rendering, but my dear friend was the architectural landscaper for the city of Coral Gables. He's going to do all the landscaping for them, and he is a big proponent of using mostly native plants. So the garden is going to look much different than what you're seeing in the presentation here. It'll be filled with a lot of beautiful native plants, and it'll soften the look of the property. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public for this case? All right. Seeing none, we will close that portion. As the applicant, you are allowed to give a rebuttal. I don't know that you need one, but you're welcome to have the podium for a couple more minutes if you'd like.
I'm Steve Yackey's applicant. I don't show landscaping for historic. There will be a landscape plan, but I don't do it for this. And I'd like to fight a little bit for the black frames on the windows, because in this case, I think it really brings out the contrast and contributes to the Art Deco features of the house. Other than that, I think we did a complete presentation, unless you have any questions.
Do any of your precedent images have black frames?
Did you ask me something?
Do any of your precedent images have black frames?
My present images?
Precedent. The existing buildings that you're showing examples of?
Oh.
I reviewed them last night. I won't take your time to get them back up. They do not.
And we do have guidelines for different architectural styles and what the window finish should be, or the frame finish should be.
Do we have the precedent images in our packet? Am I missing it? Or is that just in the presentation? Could the applicant bring up the precedent, the inspiration? Mr. Murphy, what did you call it instead of precedent images? The existing structures in the neighborhood that are of a similar style. Thank you. Yes, perfect. Thank you.
No,
I'm fine, thank you.
Keep going, yeah. It's surrounding two-story, keep going. There's the Art Deco buildings right there.
Okay. I believe we're ready to go into executive session unless there are additional questions of the applicant from the board. Okay. Seeing none, we will enter into executive session. Who would like to get us started?
I could start having, I think it's appropriate that I start. I lived in Miami Beach for 25 years, which has the largest extension of Art Deco buildings. And let me first and foremost say that is probably one of my favorite architectural styles. That said, I think that this portion of the street, to me, yearns for a craftsman bungalow style house. That said, I respect the process of the applicants meeting with city staff, finding inspiration, and finding at the beginning, doing their due diligence if this appropriate style would be compatible in the area. So I respect city staff, and I'll take that comment off the table. So looking at it purely as an Art Deco structure, I have to say that I find it, although sculpturally alluring, I do think there are some proportion problems with the second floor. I can tell you that in my experience reviewing projects with roof decks, that they can be a nuisance to neighboring properties. They also are more directed to your user. They're less likely used than you think they will be used because of the oppressive heat. And that's why I asked Mr. Salata if they're allowed, and then if they're allowed, what kind of shade structures are allowed, because you will need one. In any case, I think that the parapet in this case adds to the massing, and something needs to be given in terms of some form of recess to alleviate the street presence, in my opinion. I think that again, the second floor street facing needs some refinement, proportion, maybe the introduction of some eyebrows would help. I would stand firm with staff that the proper contemporary interpretation of an Art Deco building would be some form of anodized aluminum or silver frame. So I would kind of be against your desire for the black. I also think that I think that the rear structure is a missed opportunity to have a little bit more fun and maybe bring in that sexy curve that's seen in the front and the back and have them more relate to one another. But generally, understanding the direction that you guys were provided, I think that it's a very good solution. I think it will be slightly out of character, at least in the immediate street context. But perhaps we can work towards refining it to make it a little bit more lower sense of mass in that front. So that's my initial commentary.
So I'm gonna follow James, and I pretty much agree with all what you said. Actually, it's also one of my favorite styles. It doesn't meet the new construction and alteration compatibility standards. Basically, the building height says the height of the building at street level should be visually comparable with the height of surrounding buildings. That doesn't meet. And a little bit threw me out the people that spoke, and they are okay with this. You know, I wouldn't be okay with this if I am the neighbor, but that's my personal preference. Design styles. New buildings should take their design cues from the surrounding buildings. Traditional or contemporary design standards and elements should relate to the surrounding buildings. Doesn't meet that. Size, scale, bulk, mass, and volume. The physical size, scale, bulk, mass, and volume should be comparable with the surrounding buildings without overwhelming them. And that is the first thing that I notice, is completely overwhelming the neighbor structures. I mean, it's a very nice design. I would like to see it probably somewhere else. You know, that is my personal opinion, but I want to hear the rest of the board members.
I was on the board when we started having these conversations about this particular style in this historic district and the appropriateness of it. Part of those conversations, if I'm remembering correctly, had to do with the clustering of them kind of at the northeast corner, where there were the grouping of three. And it has spread, I think, more than, with the new construction, probably more than we really anticipated. And we probably want to consider with staff in the future whether this is starting to become a tipping point for the neighborhood, where it was something that was more of a rare occurrence and now we're seeing more of it, and if that's really changing the character of this neighborhood. I do agree that they went through the proper channels, and Ms. Hamilton felt like this was appropriate for this location. So with that in mind, I think that I would find in favor of the, the overall style direction because of city staff's direction. However, I think that the massing, as you mentioned, is not compatible with our compatibility standards. And I think that, part of that is an issue with the parapet because of the roof terrace that's being provided for, and that way. Part of it is also that I don't think that this style for a single family house on this size lot is necessarily the most appropriate. So I think it's an interesting design problem for this style. I think of other two-story, really more streamlined, modern structures that were appropriate, but they're on very different lots, also not in this historic district. So just in terms of background for the board on the style, when I look at the structure, and I won't repeat anything that the other two board members said, which I'm very much in agreement with, I also find that just the detailing, when I look at the local examples that you're using as reference, a lot of those design cues are not being implemented here. And I would like to see the detailing more closely mimic the detailing of the nearby structures. So, for example, Mr. Murphy mentioned the eyebrows, which I know there was an effort for the eyebrows at the front door, but how the eyebrows line up with banding, how the banding lines up with the top of openings. I'm looking at the windows, and 90% of them, unless it's like an accent window, doesn't have the surround, like the stucco surround detail that you have. It's basically just a really simple recess in there. But again, the bands are aligning with the top and the bottom of windows, or they're corresponding with an architectural feature. I do think that you overall did a good job at making sure that your window openings made sense and related to each other, that you're using a consistent language with them. The other thing too is just with the sliding glass doors, the mutton profile translates very differently for me between the sliding glass doors and then the single door that you have next to it. So while you're studying the elevation, I would recommend that you look at that when you're looking at the proportion of openings. So those are my comments. Do our other two board members have any additional input?
I think you've given great guidance to reassess a few things. I can't add any more value here.
Yeah, I second that. Just addressing the massing as well as adding some more of those Art Deco details. Sort of as the renderings sit now, it's a little more, resembles more of it's like a mausoleum almost, right? Doesn't have that flair to it that you'd expect with Art Deco. Otherwise, I think it'd be a great addition to the neighborhood. I know one of our previous comments with some of the other historic districts regarding repetitive architectural styles, and that'd be a good way to sort of stay in keeping, but also add a little bit of differentiation.
Thank you. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Well, I think that we should, I mean, we're a short board today, so I don't know if we need to do a straw poll on the style. I know Gabe seems pretty strong against that. It looks as though you're looking at at minimum a deferral. So the design probably won't get I wouldn't be supportive of the design as proposed. But I'd like to give them concrete direction, and I'd hate for them to refine the design and then get told the style is not appropriate.
Okay.
So I could start, as I stated in my comments, although I believe that in this immediate area, a different style would have been more appropriate based on the direction given to them. I think the style is fine, but the execution of it is missing the design details and the mass and proportion.
And I second that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I think that one of the issues is the effort to have a rooftop that brings the parapet so high that, pretty much destroys the rhythm of solids versus voids, right? And that is what makes the house overwhelming, And that is one of the big issues, I think.
I mean, there's lots of other design suggestions we could provide. Like, I would think that the second floor needs to be pushed back 10 feet, and then you have a front terrace. And the roof deck on top of that second floor that's already pushed back should be pushed back even further, so that the safety parapet for that roof deck, the roof deck area maybe is only 25% of the roof. And that safety parapet wall is behind a line of sight and disappears. Those are just two things that I would think would begin to tone down the mass, and probably provide your architect with a little bit more areas of fun, kind of break up the pristine sculptural. I think someone said, I don't want to say the wrong word, institutional or mausoleum? Did someone say that? Okay, good. And I think that the introduction of some detailing in the more traditional Art Deco sense and pushing back the massing could have some, could lend itself from more playful elements that's often seen in Art Deco.
I also think that jogging the mass like that helps keep in better step with the precedent, the neighborhood precedent images of the style for the single-family residences. It mimics it closer. So just to recap, I think that the board respects staff's initial conversations with you about the style, and we would like to see the implementation of that style take more respect, be in more alignment with our compatibility standards in terms of the detailing and the massing.
Yes, the three images up top at 700, 508, and 505, you can really begin to get, plagiarize it in your own skillful manner. That one-story street presence, and then push the second floor back.
It's an exciting opportunity. Okay. So with that direction, I think it's time for a motion.
Does the team think they can produce some changes in the 1 month deferral cycle? Or would you request the 2 month?
Yeah, we can do
1 month? Okay. And that, so that date is
May we have the
East-
date certain from staff?
August 20,
trying to find it here, but I can't find it.
Could someone from city staff tell us the next Historic Preservation Board meeting date, please?
Yes, I'm getting it. Hold on, my phone was off. August 27th.
Okay.
I'm sorry, you said August 22nd?
27th, Mr.
27th.
Salata?
Tuesday, August, okay. I move that case file 24-28 be deferred for 1 month to the August 27th, 2024 meeting.
Do we have?
Second.
Okay. Second from Mr. Jaroslawski. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. Thank you. We'll see you next month. Our next case is case number 24-54 for 221 Monroe Drive. Will the applicant please come to the podium for the presentation?
Hi, good evening. My name is David Gangler. I'm the architect of record. It's my pleasure to present 221 Monroe Drive to you this evening. This is a very fun project to work on. It was a special house to begin with, and it was our task to add on to this house. The existing house sits next to a vacant lot, so it's a double wide lot. There are several double wide lots on this street, and this has gone before you before. And I think 22, another architect presented a very similar idea that was approved unanimously, but the difference between my presentation and his, the new owners, didn't like the way that the house functioned. It was split into two halves where you couldn't walk from one side of the house to the other without going outside and walking up a second set of steps. They wanted a traditional home, all under one roof, one air-conditioned structure. So the U-shaped structure that you see, the courtyard, was in essence what was proposed before. We made some modifications that we now added. Instead of a drive court in the center of the project, now we have a true courtyard with the fountain and entertaining area, and then the driveway we pushed onto the side of the property line. Let me get into the drawings. Whoops. This is a survey showing the site, the existing home on the left and the empty lot on the right. The pool is being demolished, and the two-story structure, detached structure in the rear is going to be preserved as well. The entire main structure, our goal is to preserve. There's one area of it that we're going to ask for permission to modify, would be the carport on the right side of the structure. And I'll show you that in the next drawings. This is our proposed site plan. You can see the courtyard in the front and the driveway on the right-hand side. The light shaded area is the existing structure, and the dark gray is what is being proposed. And then you have the new hardscape pool design and existing structure behind. We do meet all of the side setbacks and bulk and massing requirements in the zoning code. We are asking for a historic exception. On one of the side setbacks, the requirement is 10 feet. The existing of the historic structure is 8 feet, and we're continuing that with a piece of the new structure that is sitting on top of the original footprint. There's also a additional bonus in FAR of 0.06 that we're requesting, or actually 0.03. The existing FAR requirements would be 0.43 with a detached structure, and we're asking permission to go to 0.46 And that is allowed under the historic special exception clause, where our fulfilling of that would be under number 4, green features added to the structure. And we have a list of all the different green features that we will be adding for that historic bonus. This is a breakdown of the lot coverage and FAR and charts describing how we meet and are below those existing numbers. This is the existing structure itself as it is. It's a 2-story wood frame, 1925, textured stucco house. It has a very interesting front door with a little, I don't know if you can see it in the pictures, with a little porthole window, very, very unique. I believe original to the house that we're saving, as well as all of the architectural detailing around the house that we're preserving as well. In my experience in this neighborhood, this might be one of the best structures that actually is intact. Every time we get into the 1925 houses, you open them up and they're just falling apart. And this one is actually in really good shape. It was well taken care of. This house is unique in this style. It does have these flat roofed areas in the back of the house and in the front of the house over the main entry with a little stair-step detail that when we go through our presentation, you'll see that it's something that we brought into our design as well. And the existing windows, our presentation is that we're changing out all the existing windows to impact-resistant windows. That would be all we're doing to the existing structure. And of course, the new roof tile, but roof tile to match the same form, style, pan and cap, Ludowici, authentic Spanish mission tile. This is the streetscape photos of the neighbors. There are several Mediterranean-style, mission-style houses on either side of the street, and many examples of 2-story structures. It looks like the house that we did right next door at 225 Monroe might have been done by the exact same architect. They have very similar features across the street as well. I do believe that the proportions and bulk and massing and void versus solid is perfectly in line with the streetscape. You can see here the scale of the next door neighbor and the scale of the existing house falls exactly in line with what we're adding on to it. It does look like a bigger structure in this representation of it because it's flattened out, but because of the U-shape, you really read this as one structure, the existing house as one structure, and then the right wing as another structure from the street side. This is the existing floor plan. On the left shows on this, I don't know if I can point, can I point? Oh, there it is. This structure right here is the porte cochere that we're asking permission to demolish, keeping the rest of the entire structure. This back covered area is an add-on. It's a 1-story framed-in metal roof porch that was added on at some time, which we are asking for demolition as well. This is the proposed floor plan. The grayed area is the footprint of the existing structure. We are going on top of that existing demolished porch with the new structure. And then the rest of this structure is all new. We're preserving the wood structure of the existing. We're going to refurbish it. We'll probably have to re-sheathe and re-waterproof, re-stucco, just to make it watertight. And then all the new structure we're proposing would be concrete block. And this is the second floor. Again, you can see the poche of the area that's existing versus what we're adding on. This is the detached structure on top. These are the existing floor plans. Below is actually a cabana. It was closed in at some point. It was a garage originally. It has the 2 garage doors. And then the second floor is a one-bedroom apartment. For our presentation, we're opening up that one-story space into a completely open terrace, covered terrace, open on two sides with a cabana bath. And then we're keeping the one-bedroom apartment upstairs, maybe changing the proportions of the bathroom a bit. But most of that structure is going to stay intact. We are proposing to add a balcony that faces the pool on this side of the building. That would be a little bit of a contextual add-on to that building, but we think it needs something back there. This is the roof plan showing portions of the flat roofs with the parapets and the Spanish tile roof. Again, it's a Ludowicki, mission style, pan and cap style, authentic, and paint color would be just the standard OC17 Dove White, Benjamin Moore. It's the front elevation. We picked up on this theme of this arched window here in the existing living room, and we repeated the arch across the front facade and onto the second wing. We are replicating the single hung windows in the style from the original house where we can. Where we have an issue with egress, we're changing that to casement windows. And you could see right where my cursor is right here, this line is the line between the existing house and the new, and you can see we're keeping that exact facade intact and just refurbishing it. One change we are doing here to this detached structure, this is the existing, the garage doors had a square top. We're introducing that arch top to those openings. This is a section through the house showing the existing house on the left through the courtyard with the main entry, and then the elevation facade that we're proposing to change of the detached structure. We're opening it up on the first floor to the pool, and then creating a little Juliet balcony outside for the guest house. This is the rear of the property. You can't really see this section of the house because the new part is in front of it. This would be the one-story porch that we're proposing to demo. And then a new two-story arcade, and repeating the arch concepts throughout the two towers. The roof lines are equivalent to what we had with the original structure. The proportions are the same. This is the back facing the alley of the detached structure, and we're adding a outdoor shower here with some more, more Spanish style detailing. This would be the west property line. This is the existing structure, and what we are proposing is to keep it pretty much the same as it is with our addition on the back. There are a slightly different window organization. These 4 windows, I believe, on the original structure have been changed. The front half of the structure, we're keeping all the windows in place, but just because of the plan layout, we're proposing to move these 2 windows over a little bit and the 2 bottom ones down here. The same in the detached structure. There's a existing window here that we're keeping, and then there was one big window that we're making into a smaller window. On the top, this is a section through the courtyard again, but looking at the new structure, we added a little Juliet balcony here for the guest suite, and above another arch window that's looking into the garage. You can see through the section here the roof rafters of the second floor are cypress wood rafters and tongue and groove on the angle, kind of giving some more of the authentic Spanish Mediterranean architecture and detailing, as well as we're introducing stained cypress garage doors and gates, and even a rolling drive gate. Window schedule, we're proposing just PGT style windows in a bronze black color, very dark bronze black. We have several styles. We've got the fixed windows, single hung windows, and casements where we need them, and mostly French doors, all with not true divided lights, but divided lights. I don't know how I'm doing on time, but I'll run through the renderings if I have any more time left. This would be the street. Angled so you could see the interior courtyard. This is a tile detail we found from Casa Ceramica. It's called Almeria. It's a custom, color, but the pattern is great. This is the rear, looking back at the guest house and the two-story terraces. Sorry, these weren't in your packet. This just came hot off the presses. We're proposing to change the railing and stair tiles of the existing. That concludes my presentation.
Questions of the applicant?
Thank you, by the way. There's a lot of beautiful elements to this project. In the main bedroom on the second floor, that's like a grand bedroom, how does this ceiling change? Because that's kind of on an inadvertent hinge of old and new.
Oh, yeah.
And it may have it will have some interior roofing consequences, and it certainly has window consequences, hence the change in the window, and that looks awkward.
This section shows a section through that part of the house. So this, where the cursor is, I don't know if you can see it, that first part is the height of that existing roof. And those would be the existing roof framing that's modified, and then we'll have a new piece of truss that comes above it, so the ceiling height steps up a little bit there. It's not much, but it's the master, so.
Yeah. I was hoping you weren't going to say that section was the section through the bedroom, because it is the grandest ceiling height.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that is appropriate at the hinge point to the beautiful landmark structure. And all the tools that you have for how to connect to the old, you chose to go higher.
Oh.
Than, and in the
There's
same
one
style.
reason for that.
As opposed to maybe a flat portion of the roof there, to kind of emphasize a hyphen. But that's neither here nor there. You answered my question. Thank you.
No, I see what you're saying. There are different choices to make, and
yep. And so we
originally had it the same height all the way, but because of differentiation, we wanted the new to look a little bit different, and the way we did that was raising the roof line, 2 feet. and did that little band. So I
And-
do agree with you, though. There's
Yeah,
lots of different ways to.
the exterior doesn't read to the program of the interior because it claims to be two different spaces visually. In any case, is the existing staircase shoddy?
Of
Or
the
is-
main house?
Yeah, it
doesn't meet
surprised
code.
me that it's not grand like I would think that it would be.
No. It's right when you walk in.
Yeah, no, I
And
know.
it's narrow and it's not,
It's
it
not,
doesn't really work.
it's not special.
I
I've
don't think it
actually
meets your.
been in this house before, like years ago, and it's this neat little stair, but even I felt like it was really difficult to get up and down from. And I don't know if you're trying to keep any of the tile that's in that foyer either, which is definitely original and special, but I will second that it is a very difficult condition, even for a house of this, size. It's different than what you would expect.
And I'm meandering. I'll get to my question though. The reason why I bring that up is because, and there's a lot to comprehend here. The reason why I bring that up is because the two little like stickouts in the rear are really inappropriately scaled, and they're the most subservient spaces. There's a bathroom, I think a tub, and a stair, and they're the highest part and the accent part. And the rear facade is going through a dramatic alteration. I'm trying to focus on the front to begin the digestion. And then my final question, I'll leave it to my colleagues, is I'm not sure that the two-story, two-car garage nearly flush with the wing of the existing landmark building is appropriate. I don't know if you tried one story. I don't know if you tried to push the garage further in the back, like the historical precedent would have. But those are just some of the things that jumped out at me. Okay. But overall, really some beautiful elements that I commend you on.
Thank you.
But I do think the addition begins to, I don't want to say consume, but compete with the, compete and begins to win against the landmark building.
I'll go ahead and give my comments second, since what I wrote down, you basically already said. So I just wanted to reiterate that I felt the same way about the choice to differentiate by raising your tie beam height at the addition. I would definitely support a different decision. I was pulling our standards because I'm certain that choice is not showing the level of deference to the historic structure that it should. And then also the tower features at the rear that caught my eye immediately, and also a level of formality with the symmetry that it had with this intentionally asymmetric house. And then my third comment, if you could just walk me through, right now they're white windows, and you're proposing to replace with, what is it, black or bronze?
Yeah, dark bronze.
Okay.
It looks black there.
Can you walk me through that decision?
Oh, sure. In my experience, and especially in the historic neighborhood, the preferable window was always mahogany wood window for revamping these houses, but costs are spiraled out of control for using any kind of, mahogany kind of wood window. So in my opinion, what I think looks best with this style architecture is the dark bronze window. It feels more Mediterranean to me. We did it next door in the house, right next door to this house, and it looks fantastic. I guess, for me, I don't think white was ever the authentic Spanish Mediterranean window. I know that the wood windows would have been painted, and sometimes they were painted light blue or light green or maybe even dark blue. But for us and for the owner, I thought the choice was easy. I thought this house, really needed the dark bronze.
Do you have any evidence support that those windows were painted a different color on this structure originally?
Oh, no, not this one. As far as I know, they're white now. I have no idea what they were painted before.
Thank you.
I have some questions. So the portion that you are demolishing, I was a little concerned, but you said that that was an add-on?
In the rear? Yes.
Okay, and you have proof of that? I mean,
You can look at the architectural style of it. It has, I guess it has like newer windows. I can see if I can find the picture of it. It doesn't match the style of the house either.
I understand.
It's not Mediterranean at all. It's not even stucco. It's like siding, like aluminum siding.
Okay, I see. Next question is, so if you are replacing the windows in the existing portion at least, you are replacing like by like,
Yes.
right? So basically, every casement window needs to be replaced by a casement window. A single hung should be replaced by a single hung.
Yes, and I'll just say that, for instance, if you look at the screen, this front facade window here, this is a stationary window. It has two mullions, one dividing the semicircular transom and one dividing the window in half. Our window is a fixed window, but it's going back to a more traditional style of Muntin design. So we're not copying that Muntin design, but it is fixed for fixed, and above, it's single hung for single hung. And the only time we're not doing that is when it calls for in the code a certain size escape egress requirement. If you don't meet it with single hung, you have to change to a casement.
Okay.
Can you actually walk us through where that occurs? I just want to make sure that we're understanding which windows you're looking
Which
to alter
ones?
from the original configuration due to egress requirements.
Sure, let me see if I can get a place where I can read it. Okay. Let's not zoom. All right. That doesn't help. If you can read it on your screen, I can't read mine. The B window is still single hung, and the C window is casement. An A window would be fixed. So these windows in the front of the building would be the single hungs. This window is a single hung. The two on top right here are single hungs. This window on the first floor is a single hung, all like for like. These two front windows are fixed. On the new portion of the side, I believe we switched to casement windows for differentiation. Some more, I don't want to say modern because this is how they did it, back in, Italy hundreds of years ago. But it's a different version of an older window. Let me see if I can continue.
I'm mostly concerned about the historic structure.
Yeah. So this historic structure on the courtyard side, this would be the east side of the existing structure. These windows are being replaced with like kind. Those are single hung. I believe these two have changed to casement for egress from the original windows, which were single hung. It may just be one of them, but. And then this window over the door is like for like. It's a single hung now, and it'll be single hung. And on the side of the house, it's the same like for like. This window right here was changed to casement, and I believe this one was changed for casement, just so that the four windows in that room match. But if that's an issue, I can make those a single hung as well. Just because you just need one egress.
Okay, that answered my question. Thank you.
And the last question that I have, there is a condition of approval from staff that says reduce overall roof height on proposed addition for better contextual height within streetscape. So what do you think about that condition?
I'm sorry, what was the condition again? That I'm over the height?
Yeah, it says reduce overall roof height on proposed addition for better contextual height within streetscape.
Oh, within the streetscape. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with that condition.
Okay.
So I'll have to go back and look at that one. But the only reason the roof height on the addition is new is for differentiation. Other than that, on the streetscape, the massing and proportion is all within the same, let me see if I can find it. It's mostly because all of these flat roof structures are about 22 feet high. So even though our wall height is, is higher than the main structure, we're still, because of the parapet roofs, we're still within line of the streetscape, on this side as well. Yeah, the house next to us is a double lot, single story. All the other houses on the sides of us are 2 stories, and this house as well is a double lot. So there's 3 double lots right in a row here on this street.
It sounds like Mr. Salata has the same concerns that myself and Mr. Murphy have in regards to that height.
Well, yeah. When he presents, we'll ask the question. Overall, I mean, thank you. Overall, nice presentation, beautiful design.
Thank you.
Any additional questions or feedback for the applicant at this time? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Salata, may we have the staff report, please?
Benjamin Salata presenting HB case 2454, Avalon Pre-Constructions, Additions, Alterations for 221 Monroe Drive. This site does consist of 2-story primary and 2-story accessory structures, both built in 1925 by CK. I'm going to butcher this last name, but it's VLIET, in a Mediterranean revival style in the Prospect Park Southland Park Historic District. Both are contributing buildings and are known as the Harry and Francis Johnson House. Their defining features include the corner entry and a mix of parapet and tiled roofs. There's a site plan as presented by the applicant, photos of the house currently, and around the property. The request is for a proposed addition, approximately 1,203 square feet, proposed addition second story of 1,273 square feet, proposed covered terrace of 308 square feet, proposed second story terrace of 230 square feet, proposed open balcony of 13 square feet, and the accessory structure alterations. This is the demolition plan as proposed, showing that back porch, which I agree with the applicant. I don't believe it is historic at all. I could not find or locate any permitting about that one way or another. This is the first story plan, existing and proposed. The second story, the same. It's the south elevation, existing and proposed. The north, west, and the east. The roof plan is shown in the streetscape. We do believe this meets codes 9 and 10. And we approve of one condition, and that is the condition I believe you two had as well, which is reduced the overall height proposed addition. It shows the tallest roof on the streetscape. I don't know if that's what we all want with a new addition to a historic home. Any questions from the board?
I have a question. Ben, is the porte-cochere original?
I could find nothing that the original plans, but it kind of shows on the green card as this being a porch or a portia, but it doesn't show the
The
architecture.
garage is located in the rear.
Yes.
Did you explore with the applicant alternative designs that would retain that feature as a connector?
No, I did not. Unfortunately, our volume is quite high right now, so sometimes secondary meetings are just not possible.
But you are fine with the demolition of that element?
I'm okay with it. It's not my favorite, but I think we can live with it, considering it kind of blends with the rest of the property very well.
Okay.
If I could just chime in, because I've been in the house before, and I would actually like to hear from the applicant in regards to that too. But when I was there, it did seem like it was altered, but as the applicant, if you could speak to that more after, is this an appropriate time? Well, why don't you go ahead and answer the question, and then we can continue with staff if we have additional questions. So if you could just speak to if you believe the carport to be an original feature and also the state of it.
As far as I'm familiar with these houses in this neighborhood, there are lots of houses that have that carport feature, and I believe that it's probably part of the original. It doesn't make sense to me why they have the garage and the carport, because, I don't know, it's, maybe the porte cochere is really just the drop-off point, and that's not where you're parking. The only reason I felt comfortable demoing it was because the presentation previously that was approved had also requested the porte cochere cutoff, and we kind of just followed suit of what they had done. So I didn't, think that it would be an issue. You can tell me, differently.
Mr. Slaughter, you don't have access to that green card, do you?
Not with me now.
Additional questions of staff? All right, thank you. Okay, we'll now move on to public comment. I have 2 comment cards. The first is Miss Alexandra Badalamenti. If you could please take the podium and state your address for the record.
Hi, my name is Alexandra Badalamenti. I am counsel for HSH1 Trust that owns 214 Monroe Drive, which is directly across the street from this property. First of all, we want to say we actually really appreciate the style and the elements. It is very similar to some of the additions and changes that we came in front of the board to propose last year for 214. We think it's beautiful. We love all the similar elements. That being said, we do have 3 kind of subject matters we want to address with our comments. The first is with respect to relocation of the driveway. The proposal to relocate the driveway to the east, it does prevent a lot of usable street parking for my clients and other residents in adjacent properties because of the way that the driveway would no longer be staggered or offset with respect to other driveways on the street. We are aware of the locations of a number of the driveways and the impact that they have to the street parking for those that are across the street. My client did move their driveway at 214, but they actually took this specific consideration and the impact to the street parking into consideration when they requested to move it. I also do not represent the neighbor to the east of this property, obviously. They're at 215, but our opinion is that it doesn't leave a lot of space between the driveway and that neighbor. And so we respectfully request a reconsideration of the driveway relocation and would prefer that it be maintained at its current location, as the lot is pretty big, and we hope that can be worked around. The second subject that we'd like to discuss is the ratio and the variance that's requested with respect to the ratio of floor area of the building to the lot size. My client painstakingly worked with Daley Jansen to achieve what they consider to be tasteful additions to their home and maintain the ratio within the limits. I think we had a 20% limit and we came in at 19.6. And so we are concerned about scale in the street, and we do feel that this is pushing the limits of that scale for what the other homes in the area kind of offer in terms of balance. So we would respectfully request denial of a variance in the spirit of preservation and balance and scale. The third subject is the accessory structure. We understand that original historic homes, the spirit of preservation is to protect those historic structures. When my client came in front of the board, we asked to make some smaller exterior openings, and it just wasn't allowable because that was a historic structure. So adding a balcony and some of the other proposed changes here, we feel are not necessarily congruent with the comments we received last year. And we want to make sure that, everybody's acting in the spirit of preservation when they come in front of this board. So that concludes our comments.
Thank you. Could the city attorney please speak to the driveway placement? I know that we have purview over hardscape, but in terms of what is, their right to develop the property, do we really have purview over the placement of the driveway in this?
I think you do have some control over the, Ben, do you know offhand?
No, this is the first time someone ever mentioned that it affects street parking, so this is new ground for me as well.
Okay. Then it must not be a part of the historic review.
Okay.
We'd never considered really street parking in any type of home improvement.
Okay, thank you. And then if we could also just go to the point about the variance. Is it a variance or is it just special exceptions or bonuses that are being utilized?
These are special bonuses.
Okay.
Exceptions, which are on staff level.
So just to clarify, and if either of you want to correct me or add to what I'm saying. So variances do come before us. This project is not requesting a variance. They're requesting a special exception and a bonus, I believe, which are built into the code, which your applicant could have also used because it's built into the code in this way. And these bonuses and special exceptions are meant to help historic homes, have the flexibility that they need to adapt their program. So it's an incentive system that's built into the code. So it's not a question of denying a variance because we don't have one before us. Okay.
That's correct.
Thank you. Okay. And then our second comment card is, I believe it's Miss Amy Triggs.
While she's coming up, I just want to apologize to the board. I do not have my computer with me, so I don't have access to all the files. So if you ask me a question and I can't answer, that's why, because I don't have all the information in front of me. I apologize.
Thank you. And if you could state your name and address for the record, please.
My name's Amy Triggs. I live at 208 Monroe Drive, just kind of catty-cornered from 221. I think my house is one of the pictures that they showed. I've lived in my house for over 30 years. I absolutely love my street and all the historical homes on my street. We've actually been before the board many times doing many renovations over the last 30 years. 221 Monroe is one of my favorite houses. I think it's a really cool, iconic house in our neighborhood. The previous owner, who actually lived in the house, had been there since the 1980s until about 2022. It's been empty since she's left, and she hadn't done much updating to it over the years. So I'm very excited about the new owner restoring it to its former glory and adding on some beautiful elements, which I think will only enhance and improve our street. I think the plans look amazing. I'm not going to nitpick over any of the proposals. I appreciate and trust the board and your opinions and what you've said, and I also appreciate the planning office's conditions for scale. So I just want to say thank you. I think it looks great, and I'm really happy to see our street just improving more and more. It looks very different than when we first moved into our home, just with all the wonderful improvements and the longtime families that have lived there. So I also just want to make a comment about the inside. I was the realtor a few times ago, and I've been inside as well, and the staircase in the front entryway is not what you would expect and is kind of scary. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public that wishes to speak on this case? All right, thank you. All right, would the applicant like to make any kind of rebuttal? You would have a couple minutes to do so.
Just real quick about the parking on the side street and the drive cut. our owner probably doesn't want to screw up any parking situation either. We can go back and study exactly where the drive cut is. I think the code is you basically get 20 feet. You can either have two 10-foot or one 20-foot, cut. And you can put it wherever, public utilities will let you have it. But we'll look at that. We don't want to ruin any parking spots.
Thank you for that consideration. And we will move into executive session. So I think we had a couple comments. Just going back to my notes, we and staff made mention of the addition and the tie beam height being raised at that location, as well as the height and massing and perhaps program at I'll call them the tower features in the back. I also questioned the decision to go with a dark frame when the historic structure has white frames. I know we talk about the window color a lot on this board. And then additional comments, Mr. Jaroslawski, I believe you had additional ones to add that I didn't make mention of.
Well, we need to decide, I guess, what we do with those windows that were not changed like by like.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I understand that if you put a bedroom and you need exiting, it may be required by code. So the other two.
Right, and in that one bedroom, it's actually 4 that are being changed to casements. And the applicant, I believe you indicated that you would be willing to not change all of them. So it may be something, I think maybe we're deciding if it's conditions or deferral. And it sounds like with the applicants nodding,
I think that
they
we
would be
should
open
address
to
with a
that.
condition.
Okay.
So I want to address the FAR. I mean, I don't know, did you study the FAR? I don't remember.
I'm sorry, stepped out of the restroom.
FAR, the comment from the lady about the FAR that is above the require, so is complying with an exception in the...
It does comply with the exception, and
Okay.
this has been reviewed by a secondary zoning planner as well.
Okay. So that shouldn't be an issue. And the other comment regarding the accessory structure, I mean, I don't know what project she's referring to, but I don't see that any one of these changes are not appropriate, like a concern to me. I mean, adding a balcony in a structure that will improve the courtyard would be beautiful, so I am not sure that I have a problem with that.
I think one item that I believe you brought up, or Mr. Murphy brought up about the carport, and us losing that feature, which we've worked really hard to retain in other instances. I think it's tough because we don't have a lot of information about it, and because our board previously approved the removal of it.
I'll bring it up one more time and then I'll drop it. I don't think anyone else is reacting to the location of the proposed garage and the creation of this building to a courtyard building. We're fine with that?
I think, I mean, it's a tough one because, that is the right location actually, and the fact that the doors are on the side and not in the front, that kind of mitigates the issue.
I know that I'm consistent that I've often spoken, I don't want to say in support of, but supporting garage-facing doors when appropriate, when not part of the primary facade, when they're recessed. to me, this seems like absolutely the orientation of the garage is perfectly the correct location to do a non-street facing garage. My question was the location of it is turning this L-shaped building into a courtyard building that it wasn't before, and begins to close out the openness of that front. And a garage further located in the back would keep it more open, was my only comment on it. Not that it shouldn't be there, just the massing of it. It could have been a great room and a bedroom up there. It's more of the turning the L into a U.
I agree that it would be more in keeping with the spirit of the original structure. And that was actually part of my reaction to the rear, like creating the symmetry, which also it's not as symmetrical, but also applies to the front. Just a question for the applicant, because I'm trying to remember this project. I remember that I was excited by it the last time that we reviewed it. Was the garage located there previously?
It was a exact U shape, just like it is now, except for they had the drive court in the middle, so you had to drive through the courtyard to get into it. So it was a center driveway into the garage doors. And I thought it was a total waste of a beautiful opportunity to create an outdoor space. So that's where it came from, really. I put the little lean-to roof on the side to kind of take away from, it's not a two-story, two-car garage. It's the 1.5, you got a little bit, so the proportion kind of changes a little bit. But from the street, my goal is that you don't really see it. I'm kind of hidden.
I think it's an excellent point. And I do appreciate the applicant looking at what we had previously approved as a starting point. So I think my point of view is just really deferring to that previous approval. Any additional comments for discussion in executive session?
No, I'm for the garage in that location. And in fact, what took it a little step further is the fact that you tucked in the generator, the AC, the pool equipment. That was very creative in that sense. So I'm really for it. I think it's a great layout. The owners will be really happy with that.
All right, it looks like our discussion is closing.
Make a motion.
Motion.
I move that the Historic Preservation Board approve application number 24-54, 221 Monroe Drive, for ad valorem pre-construction additions and alterations in accordance with standards 9 and 10 as set forth in section 94-49 of the City Zoning and Land Development Regulations. The motion is based on the testimony presented along with application submitted and the staff report, which constitute competent substantial evidence. In addition, the approval of this request is made conditional upon the following restrictions, stipulations, and/or safeguards that I move are necessary to ensure compliance with the purpose and intent of the Historic Preservation Ordinance, the Historic Preservation element of the Comprehensive Plan of the City of West Palm Beach, the Secretary of Interior Standards for Rehabilitation, specifically Standards 9 and 10, and the additional compatibility criteria set forth in section 94-49 of the City Zoning and Land Development Regulations. The conditions include the following. First, reduce the overall roof height on proposed addition for better contextual height within the streetscape. Second, study the location of the drywall to minimize any impact on the street parking. And third, replace the 2 windows that are not required to be egress with like by like, single hung.
Gabe, I would second that if you could do an amendment to lower the two, I don't know what to call them, protrusions in the rear, the stairway and the bathroom, they'll lower the height of those two tower elements. Seen on A08.
Yeah, that will be result probably of the reduction of the height, but I'll add it.
I just want to make sure that that streetscape height condition carries over to the rear facing.
Okay, so I amend the motion to add a fourth condition to lower the two tower on the rear of the property.
And I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. Thank you. Our next case is case number 24-53 for 309 Grayman Drive. If the applicant could please come to the podium.
Sorry, me again. This is the owner, Gus Rennie.
How are you?
You probably recognize him too. He's done several of these in the neighborhood. 11. And very proud to have saved 11 structures. This will probably be the first one that we're doing ground up.
Yes.
This was a vacant lot, sitting right next door to a house that we had just renovated. This is 309 Grayman Drive. Do you want to say anything to begin? Starting from scratch is a very difficult decision which way you're going to go with it. We looked at the context of the street. We had done 2 houses already on this street. The first one that we had done, single-family home, had a metal roof, a very cottagey style, but it was also in a Mediterranean style. Across the street, there are a couple of craftsman and cottage-style houses. A lot of them, I guess, in what we were trying to do is implement some kind of contemporary into the neighborhood with the metal roofs. There's 2 metal roofs in the neighborhood. So in context, when we were beginning, we decided that if we were going to pick a style, it's this contemporary cottage style with the metal roof that we were going to lean towards. And we just kind of started from there. And keeping with the coastal cottage, we've got the Bahama shutters. The house next door has the Bahama shutters. And we also, the rendering didn't pick up on it, but down the street, just about every house has awnings on the front of it or on the side of it. And this was one of those awning style houses, but done with a little bit touch of contemporary style. One of the starting points for this project as well was hiding the garage on the side. And creating a little drive court to keep the cars off the street, trying to turn the building and bring more attention to the front door and the entry of the project. We made a little one-story piece for that entry feature, a little bit more charming scale. Let me get to a site plan here. This is the survey. So it was a split lot. 309 is one we just got approved a few months ago. 317, sorry, and this is 309 is the vacant lot next to it. It's 50 feet wide, so it's very narrow, so that's a challenge in itself, and also 127 feet deep. This is the site plan. Well, it's a long, slender house. We did several different designs of trying to get maybe bonuses in square footage by doing detached structures in the back. And the detached structures, they didn't work with the flow of the house, so we kept this as one structure, and we are within the standard lot coverage requirements. There's no bonus for that. I do believe we're requesting the 0.3 or 0.4 special exception bonus by making this a greenhouse. And we have all of the green features. There's a checklist of them, but mostly it has to do with energy efficiency in the windows, the air conditioning equipment, The insulation, everything is above and beyond what is required to keep the energy at a minimum for the total house. This is the streetscape. So all the way on the left is the house we did that has the metal roof. It's a light-colored metal roof. It's not dark. The house across the street that has the metal roof is like a rust-colored metal roof. Ours would be, as proposed, is a dark bronze color. Next to it are two Spanish Mediterranean houses with flat roofs, both at the 22-foot height. Our house, the beam height is 22 feet, and the standard would be 20 feet, but every foot more setback you get 1 more foot in height. So we have an additional 2 feet of setback on either side and additional 2 feet to the beam height. I don't believe you can really pick it up, though, because the 22-foot parapet height lines up with the top of our roof line anyways, and because it's a pitched roof, a hip roof, you know, you don't read the height of the roof as if you would if it were a really tall parapet or something. Then you have a 1-story house with Bahama shutters next to it, and the house next to that is a corner house facing Olive. So it's also a 1-story, but it's not facing this side of the street. This is the floor plan. It's reoriented. North is to the right, just so it all fits on one page. The first floor is almost shotgun style. You can see one side straight to the back. It's basically entertaining area on the first floor, and on the second floor is the bedrooms. Again, shotgun style. You've got 4 bedrooms upstairs, and then the space above the living room is a 2-story space to create some interest as you're walking down this hallway. The roof plan. And I'm sure you've noticed, you can see in the roof plan, we do accentuate the gables. So it was part of the style that we were looking at, was introducing this gable effect to break up the line of the hip roof. So we have several areas right on the front and along the alley side is what I would call it's the tighter side setback. One side's the minimum is on one side, and then you have a cumulative total. So because of the driveway, we shoved the house to where we could. I think it's 7 feet off the property line. But it's a long facade, and to break it up, we introduced different ways of doing that. And then on the rear of the structure as well, we have the gable roof. And on the end of the 2-story space here with the fireplace is also a gable. You can see that in the elevations. The top is the street-facing facade. We do have single-hung windows to keeping in with the neighborhood, the context of the street. On the bottom, you have the east-facing facade. You can see the tiered-down fireplace or chimney, and the little 1-story piece that comes out of the entryway. On the rear of the structure, you have the covered terrace in the back and a Juliet balcony overlooking the pool from the master. Because of the contemporary style, we did sliders in the back where you can't see from the street. Everything from the street has muntins and mullions and divided lights. But just because of the connection between the outdoor and the indoor, the single pane sliding glass doors were our choice. The top is the rear of the structure. It shows a bay window where the tub is in the master bathroom, projecting outward with some corbels underneath. It's an architectural detail that we also used on the side of the building. So the 3 gable roof changes in the line of the roof also have projections. There's 2 bay windows and then one that has the awning over it. and tried to stack the windows for the first and second floor as much as we could. It's difficult to do them all. I have the door stacked for the garage, the rear exit door. The windows again, PGT aluminum windows. They'll be a dark bronze, black color. They'll have a series of fixed windows with all divided lights. We've got single hung windows where they're visible from the street, casement windows where we need them for egress, and then your sliding doors and solid wood front doors. This is a rendering from the street side. And from the rear. It's a bird's eye view. In case you wanted to see the inside, they rendered the inside as well. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Questions of the applicant?
I'm sorry, is it questions now or staff?
Questions?
Sorry.
So there are 3 conditions of approval in this case. Are you familiar with them or no?
Only in the bulk massing and scale.
So one is just to emphasize that there is a green bonus, right, that will include Energy Start rated appliances, R40 spray insulation, high CR HVAC, and low on windows on non-street facing elevations. The second is reduce the height of the chimney for better contextual height with the streetscape. And this, yeah, I can see it there.
Sorry to interrupt, but by code, it has to be 2 feet higher than the roof that's closest to it. So I believe I was at 2 feet to the, top, but I'll change it if it's not.
Okay. And the third, no low glass on windows and doors on street elevations, even if behind shutters.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the 3 conditions.
Got it.
So my questions, I have few comments here, but one is the shutters, and if you can explain how they work. I mean, they close and they open, or what? How is the functionality of these shutters?
They do open and close. They have little bars that raise and close them, but I selected windows that I didn't want, that it's more for privacy too. The 3 on the front are the garage, so you're not really wanting to look out, and if somebody's parked there anyways. The window next to the door is the powder room, so we didn't want people walking into the house looking right into the powder room bathroom. The one on this side is at the end of the corridor in the main entrance, which we don't need the light coming through. The one on top, on the second floor, the rendering you're looking at now, I had drawn as a canvas awning, but the renderer put the Bohemian shutter there. It is a bedroom window, so that one you probably do want to see out, but it's also facing south, so you have to protect it. And when you have the gable roofs over here, you kind of lose that 2-foot overhang that gives you some protection from the sun, but the awnings primarily, that's what the focus is.
Okay, and the second thing that caught my eye is the entry door that, is kind of too modern for this project, so I don't know. That's my opinion. But
I can easily change the door. I
love it. Don't get me wrong, it's a very nice door, but it looks too modern.
I pushed the edge of contemporary with the front door. Had you seen this in a project, it's a pivot door because it's extra wide.
Correct.
And there's a company that's making really great pivot doors, and this was one of them. So if we had to make a condition to get rid of the design of that, I totally understand that.
Thank you.
Gabe, I'll continue on that. I actually also picked up the door entry, and also I find the entry architecture a little bit too pronounced and needs to be a little subdued and lowered in scale. My opinion. But I think that there's a lot of good components to this. I wish that the window to masonry was better refined on the front, because the side elevations are so interesting, and the front one is kind of not, and I understand the program behind it, but I'll just stick with the front entry needs to be worked on with staff, lowered, toned down, scaled down, if my board members agree with me or not.
Do you have the precedents that you reference for this style within the district, within this specific historic district?
Not the overall style, but the, just the elements. I have seen people are pushing the boundaries of what contemporary styles are, being built. And because it's a ground-up structure, I thought we had an opportunity to follow suit with some of the neighbors in the house that are bringing a little bit more contemporary style in to mix in with the rest of the styles on the street. But I didn't want it to be austere or abrupt, so the elements that I chose, I felt fit pretty good in the context of what the neighborhood has. And the owner really likes the style. I speak for him.
Yeah, like I said, I've been in front of you guys 11 times, and I'm very into this neighborhood. I live there. I've lived here for 10 years. I've done projects where I've saved a lot of stuff with Frederic and with Ann, and Ben's helped us with this one. Oh, okay. And my goal is to conform with, whatever you guys recommend, and, keeping the style of the house indicative to the neighborhood.
And I do want to say, well, thank you for that, but also thank you for the restoration of all of the structures that you've done and working through this process so many times. Sounds like it was enjoyable enough that you just kept coming back.
It was so nice.
So I do have a reaction to the overall style as not being appropriate. I agree that there are components that help give it somewhat of a scale that relates. I think that there are components that just read so new construction, like the grouping of the 3 square windows that are beyond the entry. I actually have a really negative reaction to the placement of the garage. Knowing the street quite well, I would need to see more evidence that this is really the appropriate place for the garage, because from what I know the street and the historical development of the street is that these were primarily one-story accessory structures that were located at the very rear corner of this. And obviously that really changes your site plan. If you have an accessory structure that's in the rear, as is consistent with the pattern of development for this neighborhood, then your pool can't go right there. So I understand that that is a pretty big comment in terms of, the garage placement, because you've created your program with this garage in the front. I know you don't read it straight on, but you definitely will read that that's garage as you travel down the street. It's very different to me than the one that you just presented, even though, and it has to do with the size of the lot, because most of your front elevation is actually garage. For me, the interruption of that parapet gable, I have a very strong reaction against, because I can't think of a precedent within the historic neighborhood that actually expresses itself that way. I'm not sure, I think you called it coastal cottage. I think it's farmhouse mission with a touch of British colonial, and then you also sprinkled a little bit of inspiration from that house that's across from the park on Washington. That's where I'm seeing the bracket. That's the only location I can think of the bracket detail. So I think there's a lot of elements that you gathered from a lot of different sites of inspiration, and for me, none of it is really coming together in the way that I would hope for with an opportunity for new construction in the neighborhood. Is there any other input from the board right now?
I do have to agree with you, what you said here. It seems like you took a lot of really good elements across the board, a lot of different flavors. I don't know if I'm enjoying what I'm tasting right now. It's just maybe you throttle it a little too hard and it's a little too modern. Like, for example, the garage door itself. That's just a little heavy for me. You have such talent. I think maybe a slight relook at this to identify what that look really looks like. And I think it could excel well. Like you had said before, the canvas awning. I don't even know what that looks like for that top window. It could soften it to define itself. I'm curious to see what other angles you could look at this like. I'm excited for it. I just don't know if this is the right final product. That's just my take.
And I would also just like to make a note about the standing seam metal roof. So, and I may have my dates a little wrong on this, but maybe 5 or 7 years ago, we were approving an awful lot of them. I can think of a lot of different examples, and it became such a prevalent request that we said that that was too much because it was changing the character of the neighborhood. And so we really haven't been approving a lot of standing seam metal roofs because of that over, the past 5 years or whatever it is. So I think there's also an austerity to that material, which isn't helping you with this. I think it really plays into that kind of modern farmhouse look that we see a lot of in my neighborhood, which is unfortunately not a historic neighborhood, even though I'm in an older home. So. Okay, I think if there are no other additional comments, we'll go ahead and move into the staff presentation at this point. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Benjamin Salata presenting HB case 2453, new construction at 309 Grayman Drive. This is in Flamingo Park in a vacant lot. And what we're proposing, we believe, to be called a neoclassical inspired home. That is how it's defined in our 2005 design guidelines, which is, I think, what we all said, just a little bit of everything mixed together. So there is some historical precedent within the city limits of West Palm Beach. It is very rare that we have this type of style architecture, but it is defined in our design guidelines. This is the site plan. This is the photo of the beautiful lot right now. Photos of the streetscape. The request is for a 1,724 square foot home, covered terrace of approximately 252 square feet, proposed front terrace of 42 square feet, and proposed second story of 1,626 square feet. This is the floor plan as proposed. And the second story, the south elevation, the north elevation, the east, and finally the west. The roof plan is shown, and the streetscape. I do believe this fits 9 and 10 as far as new construction goes. And I approve of a couple conditions. One, the green bonuses, which went through with the applicant, including R4 spray insulation, high SEER HVAC, low E on the windows. I believe we've already covered this as a board. That is the end of my report. Any questions?
I have a question. In regards to classifying this, you said you classified it as a neoclassical structure?
No, neo-eclectic.
Oh, okay, that makes much more.
It's a mention in our design guidelines. It shows 2 or 3 older homes which have a kind of a kit bash, if you will, of different styles of architecture, but they do exist within the city. This is, I think, new ground for a lot of us, and some of the new materials, the roofs and the some of the Bahama shutters, but I think it's interesting design.
And where do I find that?
Fine, the other,
Sorry, what did you call
the other,
it? Neo?
the neo-eclectic. I didn't write the addresses
Sorry,
down.
this is a new term for me.
Like I said, our design guidelines are 19 years old, so there's been some history between here and there, but it has been defined within the city before.
I'm trying to pull it up. This is I think it's a little rare for me to learn something new by way of architectural styles. So I just wanted to be able to reference the document.
I apologize, should have scanned the page and put it in the slide. I didn't think it would take everyone off guard like this, but, you know, we all learn something new every day.
Sorry, I'm going to ask maybe a different way. Is it something that's built into the code, or is it a separate document?
It's just in our design guidelines of with every other architectural style, because like you, I was trying to pigeonhole this and what kind of house is this? And then that appeared on the page, and here we are.
Okay, any other questions for staff? All right, thank you, Mr. Salata. I do not have any public comment cards in front of me. Does anyone from the public wish to speak on this case? All right, seeing none, would the applicant like a rebuttal to the staff presentation? Okay, thank you. All right, we'll now move into executive session.
So, Madam Chair, it seems that you had some pretty strong stance on this application. Upon your words about, I think you said there's elements here that are indicative of kind of new construction. That really stuck with me because I started to look closer at it, and I see your point in that regard. I, again, don't have an immediate negative response to the location of the garage, but we can disagree on that. I find it exactly the same as the last case in a academic scenario for discussion. I think the scale of the first and second floor is beginning to go towards that indication that it's new construction. Maximize, I mean, they're equal in height, and they shouldn't be. The second floor should be lower than the first floor. I think that could be refined. Again think the masonry to window fenestration on the second floor can be worked on. I don't know how they can do that because of the program they're in and the that entry feature, but I'm not thinking that the design is a total loss that you seem to be.
And I'll speak to that a little bit more in terms of the garage. For me, it is because of, I know I said the size of the lot before, but because of the proportion of which it takes up in relation to the lot. So when you look at this house, you know, 3/4 of your front elevation is looking directly at a garage. So that's part of why I have a really strong reaction to it. I also feel like, just taking, for example, the house that we just reviewed, because the entry to that house is actually through this courtyard that feels like a secondary facade to me on the last one. So your approach to the house, you're not received with a garage immediately to your left, which in school we called them snout houses, like when the garage, you know, pushed out like that. And that's fine if, you know, we differ on opinion on that. And I think it would be helpful for the applicant, for the other board members to weigh in on that, since Mr. Murphy and I are split, so that the applicant knows if that's something that he needs to consider. And for me, also, just to reference the design guidelines, I think it goes back to the proportion of openings, and a proportion of opening of a garage in that location, for me, is inconsistent with the design guidelines or the compatibility standards.
Since we're learning all new terms today, neo-eclectic, I like this. I'm a huge fan of this pivot door. I'm a huge fan. I can't find a spot to put it, but underneath this neo-eclectic, we may see a lot more applications that see this. So here's my question to the colleagues here. Moving forward, as we see more pivot doors come across our desk, how do we feel about that? That's my question.
Well, I would just go back to the design guidelines and standards for new construction. So, design styles, new buildings should take their design cues from the surrounding buildings. Traditional or contemporary design standards and elements should relate to the surrounding buildings, or the proportion of openings, like the width of the doors. So I think that, I'm just looking at the rest of them, but to me, I think that if you're abiding by the compatibility standards, then it's something that we can consider, versus, saying yes or no to a specific design feature, also the orientation. I certainly can't think of a pivot door in the neighborhood that, or even in the adjacent neighborhoods. And so I'm not sure how that element relates to surrounding buildings.
I think that the pivot is a functionality, right? And could be a pivot door with a traditional design, right? That because you only see the pivot when you are operating the door, which nobody sees it. So can be a pivot door, but with a more traditional design or any design that relates more to the architecture of the house.
Thank you, and that's kind of where I was going with that is, I think there's a lot of things that don't need to be too much reworked, but the style perhaps could be worked on, such as this door. I mean, if we have something more appropriate, maybe that could be a better palette for us.
I kind of agree with you said about the garage being in the front because it's kind of, giving the back to the street, right? So we know in the city, in West Palm Beach, we are trying to activate the streetscape, and I mean, a garage is not actually, it's not an activation. It's actually the opposite to it. So one thing is having a bedroom, a living room when you see people, in the street. Another one is to see a garage.
Yeah, I'm just walking down the street on Google. I was actually on the street, I think it was earlier this week or late last week, but I'm not seeing any houses on, I don't know if I missed any, but I'm not really seeing a lot of precedent specifically on that street to orient the garage in that fashion. So it sounds like we're 2 and 2 on the garage here.
Yeah, this is the most closer to that
with
one,
the
which is, I
cardboard.
believe, that 2 house over, right, that has a metal roof.
There's a street-facing one further down.
Yeah,
Missed that one.
Seeing there's 2 street-facing garages.
And if probably more at one point, but it looks as though they've been filled in with or without a permit. Not uncommon.
Okay, so it sounds like we might be split on the board, and we also, I don't know who's going to be here next month. We'll probably have more people weighing in on this. So I don't know how incredibly helpful it is since we're kind of split in opinion on it. I feel quite strongly about that not being an appropriate location for the garage, so.
I think that we should just, continue the next month, if you don't mind, and give another look, and, with all our input.
I know it's hard to get a half answer from you, but in order to do next month, changing the location of the garage will be starting over from scratch, so it's not next month. Is the board's decision that I should start over with the layout of the house and re-look at putting a garage in the back? Or can I represent this with some toned down stylistic features and not so contemporary features and make a hidden garage door, you can't see it?
I think the best that we can do is individually tell you how we feel about it, because we can't say what the other board members who will be present next month, how they feel. I don't know if the city attorney can.
And if you need to.
Why don't you just vote on something?
On if the garage is acceptable in its current location?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was going to make a motion to continue it and have, with the design direction, to relocate the garage towards the rear of the structure.
Okay.
So if you need more than a month, we postpone it for 2 months.
Well,
But
I
is
also,
Yeah, I was going to say, is that even functional?
yeah, so I want to say that this lot size is common in historic districts, and that's part of why that program worked, to have the accessory structure, which has a different setback as well, positioned in this particular way because it works.
Yeah, it's a hard street because of like the diner and the tropical cleaners, the street parking and a lot of like the crime that's there. So like I just took what people want and what people are asking for on that street, specifically that street, to get more cars off the street and not jockeying cars in and out. I own 335 Grayman, I did 321 Grayman, I'm doing 317 Grayman, I'm doing 309 Grayman. I know that street pretty well, and I talk to the neighbors and see like what the problems are, and that is a big problem. That's kind of why I lean towards putting a garage in there, to help with that and help ease that problem there.
And I hear what you're saying. I still feel like it doesn't meet the compatibility standards for new construction. Okay, Mr.
If you will, for 1 second, where the front door is now, if you just imagine that getting 3 feet wider and that arch door right there is a garage door, that's your alternative. You're asking what the layout is for a 50-foot lot. You're having a front-facing garage door. So you'll have an entry or something on the side, and then you'll drive right into your garage door. That would probably be what I'd have to come back with, unless I go to your alternate 50-foot wide lot where you drive all the way down the length of the lot and park in the back, and then you have a separate detached garage. They're two kind of different plans to start from, but essentially that's what I would be coming back with in lieu of the side garage.
Yeah, we're actually in executive session, so I think we'll need to, continue with our executive session. And we hear you and we appreciate that. I think I made clear what I felt was what I believe to be a traditional development pattern and why I'm in support of that. The city attorney recommended making a motion, so I think that we need to make a motion in some capacity and vote on it.
I would make a motion to defer the application for 1 month with refinements as discussed and an option of a relocated garage for the board to see the alternative.
All right.
That is at minimum not part of the primary facade, but not necessarily allocated to the absolute rear of the property. That would be my motion, and that's to August 27th.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Thank you. Okay, next case is case number 24-50 for 833 Biscayne Drive.
For the record, Rafael Rodriguez, architect from Studio SR. I'm presenting this project and the one across the street. I'd just like to talk about the similarities of some of the houses on Biscayne Boulevard. The height of the first floor from the sidewalk is roughly about 7 feet. What that does is it creates quite a steep driveway, and in both conditions, you have to climb up the driveway and then make your way to the front door. Both houses were built in 1924. They're both hollow clay tile. They're both 1 story. And in this particular house, oops, sorry, let me just go back one. The picture, the photograph on the left shows the existing house as is. It is my belief that the right side of the house, that one lower area, was an addition that was built sometime. I did do a little bit of research, but there was nothing discovered when that addition was built, besides that the house was permitted in 1924. I actually also worked on this house many years ago, about 12 years ago, and did some renovation to it. The house has had many different additions to it. As you can tell, the photograph on the right has these Art Deco hoods over the windows for some reason. Then there's a trellis feature over the master, and then on the, oh, I'm not doing this right. And then this addition here behind the kitchen is a laundry room that housed the water heater and a washer dryer. So the scope of this project is really a couple of things. Oh, this is also the guest house. The photograph on the right shows some remnant of the parapet wall that was there at one time. The addition on the right, which you can see here on the bottom, has been an addition that is made out of what I guess is concrete block, and you can actually tell that it's been painted concrete block. As I said, this original photograph on the left is hollow clay tile, and then in between the existing garage and the new addition is a wood angled wall with a flat roof that was built. So it's quite eclectic over the years. The existing site plan on the left kind of shows the existing condition and what are some of the ideas that we have for the design. Number one is to give it the house an actual walk to the front door without having to go through the driveway. It's going to be a landscape area. You will walk up probably 6 steps to a landing and then walk to the front door with a sitting area in the front. The rest of the scope is really to enclose this rear porch, to have a trellised, louvered sitting area over the on the porch of the master bedroom, and then replace the existing windows with impact-rated windows, like for like. And the more expressed site plan, the existing floor plan, again, the highlighted area shows the addition that we're doing, small, and then we are actually doing a bathroom area as a cabana in the existing garage right off the pool. The kitchen interior will be renovated. There will be a barbecue area outside. What was one an open trellis will be a laundry room. And then this is the exterior metal trellis with louvers at the rear of the structure. The existing terrace is covered, has a flat roof. This will now be an area to sit down, and you can close the louvers in case it rains or for sun, it gets too hot out there. This area will be renovated into a bathroom cabana area with storage. And then the next item I want to discuss is trying to make some design decisions about the front elevation. This is the streetscape. You can tell pretty much all one-story residences, with the exception of the building to the west, which has a two-story portion. The detail below shows the better detail of the existing streetscape. So the existing south elevation is on the top of the drawing. What we wanted to do is give it back a parapet, uniting both the addition that was built, I would guess somewhere in the 50s, and the existing parapet. I think at one time this did have some kind of slope parapet, but it was eliminated during the history of this house. And you can tell when you take a close look there, I mean, the stucco has been reworked many, many times. So we want to sort of bring it back and give it some, what we believe is this parapet wall, and unite the entire facade of the house. We're also going to bring out this element here, which is the entry door, again, to give it a little more interest than the flat facade that was there. The existing north elevation, you could tell, did have some sort of slope parapet, and that's sort of where we're taking our guidance from, the front parapet. This elevation shows really the doors and windows being replaced like for like. West elevation, again, you can see the sloped parapet that we're trying to incorporate into the front. This is the guest house. Photograph on the left, top left, shows the existing design. And then the image on the bottom shows the design we want to incorporate, which would be a parapet. And really what that would compose of is just extending the existing front wall up, redoing the roof to give it a little more design. And this is the alternate front elevations that we worked out with the client. So we really looked at this and wanted to come up with sort of an idea of what we thought maybe once the house could have been designed like. Again, everything has been stripped. So the design we went with is the one on the bottom, which has sort of the peaked parapet wall. Our doors and windows will be PGT, impact rated in white, with mutton patterns to match the existing. Interior doors. This demo plan showing mostly the interior demolition, some interior work. This drawing shows on the there's actually a division here, and the parapet, the existing parapet was maintained, and this element on the west side is the flat roof portion. That was what is existing now. All right, that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Questions of the applicant? I have one question. Have you seen the Google Street View from 2007 of this house? Because it does show the parapet, how it was.
I worked on this house back in 2007, and the parapet consisted of stacked bricks,
Okay.
which were removed.
So are you saying that you don't believe that that parapet design is original, the one, okay.
I don't believe that the series of, it's sort of like a ziggurat design. Is that what you're looking at?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really low quality photo, but it does look convincing.
Yeah, that was basically stacked bricks.
Okay, do you have any images from the house at
Unfortunately,
that
I don't
time?
know.
Excuse me, Chair, in my report, I have all the images from HB case 0405, which will bring a lot of light
Okay,
to the questions
I will
you
just
guys are
wait for your
asking.
report.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I don't think we had any questions for you. Thank you.
All right, Benjamin Salata presenting HB case 2450, Avram Pre-Constructions Additions Alterations for 833 Biscayne Drive. Now, this is a one-story stucco residence. It is contributing in the Flamingo Park District. The main facade does face south. The house has a flat roof with parapet. The one-story garage apartment was constructed circa 1926, is located at the rear north of the property. On August 6, 2003, staff administratively approved the replacement of the jealousy and awning windows on the residence with PGT aluminum multi-light casement windows. In a previous, let me get to there. In a previous case, which is HB case 0405, the master bathroom addition to the rear, added French doors and installed PGT casement windows. And you can see some of the architectural features on the roof, which are not present today, were there in the 2004 HB case. So, with the site plan you saw here, the floor plan was also presented by the applicant, and the request for alterations to the front entryway, redesign the front patio, and close the rear porch, replacing window north elevation for French double door, closing the single door to the each porch, replacing windows in the entrance door with French double doors and a fixed side panel, and proposed new aluminum opal pergola. Kind of brings us back to where we were in 2004 with proposed south elevation. It's not 100% accurate, but it's pretty close to what we saw in 2004. So I consider this a restoration of sorts. There's the east elevation as shown and proposed, the west elevation, and the roof plan. This is the accessory structure existing as proposed, and the streetscape. We believe the renovations of this do comply with codes 9 and 10, and we recommend its approval. Any questions?
Ben, can you show the photograph from 2004?
Yes, sir.
So you're saying that this is more of a restoration?
I believe what the applicant's proposing is more in line with the original condition of the house prior to what was administrative approved in 2003 and what this board approved in 2004.
Are those outriggers, are those rafters, are they original?
This is file photos of the presentation. The plans are not with the report. They weren't digitized then, and I did not have the bandwidth to go into storage and look them up. So I really don't know what was on the plans. I just know what the photos in the presentation had at the time. And like Chair, I looked at some of the Google Earth photos and saw the progression. And I believe what was proposed here would be a good restoration to the house and the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
So the one-story garage apartment is also contributing?
I believe so, but it is contributing.
Thank you.
Additional questions of staff? Can I actually ask a question of the applicant again, since these photos are up? I have two questions. So I think you were saying earlier on that there's a difference in construction between, like if we're looking at the middle photo on the bottom, the portion to the left versus the part that has a sloped roof on the right.
Yes.
They were built out of different materials?
Yes.
Is that what you said?
Yes, hollow clay tile originally, which is, if you're looking at the guess the photograph in the center, middle, bottom, that portion is hollow clay tile. And the permits were pulled in 1924, and then to the right is wood framing that was done at some time. I couldn't find it. And that does have exposed, angled rafter tails, very similar to stuff, the style or details that were done in the 50s.
And where does the hollow clay tile pick back up again? Like beyond that
If you see
infill?
the parapet here, the end of this parapet, I think that's exactly where.
Yeah, so, but beyond that though, behind it?
Beyond that, you can see the photograph here on the top left.
Okay,
That's where it terminates.
all right. So it seems like it was originally like a two-part facade, right? With one part further out and then a push part pack because that
Yes.
part, that corner was
It's filled in.
infilled? Okay, did you look at any, could we go back to the design options actually that you explored on the front facade? I was just wondering if you explored any options where you kept it more as a two-part facade when you were bringing the parapet detailing back?
So let me pull the applicants back open, please.
Thank you.
You know where it is? Okay, go back. Yeah.
So, looking at the existing roof plan, I think this portion on the right is the part we're talking about. And
Okay.
I apologize. It does go all the way back. So this whole addition was added. In terms of, so interestingly enough, I believe this house, which is 819 Biscayne, probably was built at the same time and might have been reminiscent of what that house looked like with the right portion filled in. We did look at the different facades. Besides, we did a lot more studies than this, but because of the existing, the door not being centered, there's so many things that are, I think, in this case, here's the existing elevation. We felt the best solution was to tie in the entire facade as one instead of trying to bring different heights and different parapets to it and break it up into two. It was difficulty trying to really make sense of it. So this is, I think, a solution that we did solve by sort of making the whole entire parapet one plane and then extending the front portion out 8 inches. And I think it breaks it up nicely into two parts.
So bringing that front portion out 8 inches, that's what you're using to differentiate the old from the new in this
Yes,
instance?
yes. Sort of a remnant of it.
Okay. Well, we have the applicant up here. Are there any other questions of him? Okay, thank you for answering mine. All right, now we will move on to public comment. I have no public comment cards. Does anyone from the public wish to speak on this case? All right. Does the applicant need a rebuttal?
Sorry?
Do you need a rebuttal for any reason?
No, the owner's here, if he wishes.
Oh. Doesn't look like they want to.
Oh, yes, that's.
Okay, I do, thank you. I do have a letter in front of me. Okay, I'll read it into the record. And it's addressed to Mr. Salata. Dear Mr. Salata, we are in receipt of the notice hearing for the above referenced case, which is case number 24-53, and I've had a chance to review the proposed architectural changes to the home. In our opinion, the proposed changes will significantly add to the character of the home and will be a very positive addition to our street. We hope that staff and the historic board will look favorably upon this request. Best regards, Rick and Carol Reekins. Did I pronounce it correctly? Okay, thank you. And the address is 830 Biscayne Drive. Thank you. No rebuttal? Okay, thank you. I don't think you need one, but we give you the opportunity. All right, we will move into executive session.
I'm good with all these. I'm good with all these, with this renovation. I usually like what they do, so I'm good.
Okay. I think if you want to make a motion.
Sure. I move that the Historic Preservation Board approve application number 24-50 for 833 Biscayne Drive for ad valorem pre-construction additions and alterations in accordance with standards 9 and 10 as set forth in section 94-49 of the City Zoning and Land Development Regulations. The motion is based on the testimony presented along with the application submitted and the staff report, which constitute competent substantial evidence.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. Congratulations. Okay, our next case is case number 24-43 for 830 Biscayne Drive.
It's deja vu.
For the record, Rafael Rodriguez, architect from Studio SR. This is the property directly across the street, and to correct myself, the owners are here, Rick and Cheryl. Carolyn. Oh my God, I'm sorry. As I was stating before, the house is located on Biscayne Drive, and we actually were able to get a topo of this property, and in fact, it is 7 feet from the sidewalk to the finished first floor of the house. What that does is it creates a non-usable front yard. It's sloped and really, and because of the size of the lot, 100 by 125, we wanted to really regain as much use for the site as possible. It is an existing one-story residence, again, out of hollow clay tile, and it has an existing garage at the rear, also constructed out of hollow clay tile. Existing photographs on the top left is the front elevation. You can actually see the, this is the west side, south, and then the east elevation. You can see it's kind of flat here, and that's where the car's currently parked, but you can see the steepness of that driveway. And currently, to get up to the front door, you kind of have to walk up to the to this point and then go into the front door. And so we want to address that issue also. Existing garage. This is some of the interior. It is a mission-style house, has many original features. The wood floors, has the fireplace. And the drawing on the left, the existing site plan, and you can see the drawing on the right is the proposed landscape area in the front yard, which will incorporate a lot of native landscaping, specimen trees, and we are going to use some of those green incentives for the square footages on this lot. There will be an addition on the southeast corner, and then also there'll be an addition to the existing garage. There's a larger scale drawing of the site plan. Existing floor plan. Take a look at the existing floor plan. What we're doing is actually filling in this southeast corner and then filling and adding an addition to the garage here. The garage use will be changed into an office. Rick is a civil engineer, which will be transferring his office to this location, and then the addition will be a guest house. There's also a loggia addition, and the new addition on the east side will be a master suite. Primary suite. I keep saying, can't say that word. And then it'll be a loggia off the primary suite and off the secondary bedroom. There's the proposed floor plan, a larger scale. Really, there's no changes to the front elevation besides the landscape plan and retaining walls and steps. South elevation, existing, and then you can see the addition of to the east of the primary bedroom, and then the loggia addition, which will have access from the primary bedroom and then the secondary bedroom. Looking west, you can see on the bottom, the garage, the guest house addition, and then the loggia addition on the main house. All done in the mission-style home, which is what this house really is. On the east side, there will be a door located to access the hallway, so you can enter straight into the kitchen. As you can see, this driveway is quite steep, so we wanted to have a secondary entrance into the house besides going to the front door. Existing garage on the north side, and then these are the new French doors and a window, the addition to the right, and then we had conversations, and we felt that it would be great to have an element that would show that, yes, that was a garage, so we're doing these wood doors, bifolding wood doors on the existing garage opening. Window schedule, PGT in white, impact rated, interiors, demo plan. Roof plan. And then this is landscape plan by Schmidt-Nichols, really taking into effect the difference in grade and how you get up to the front door and the landscape, the future landscape drawings. This is the rendering between the garage and the addition of the primary bedroom. In between, there will be a sitting area with stone border and then shell floor. This is the front elevation, looking at the driveway, and then the retaining walls and the steps went up to the first floor. The loggia with the pool between the main house and the guest house, sitting area outside, pent roofs to kind of bring the elements of mission style. There'll be some niches with decorative tile. Again, this is looking between the main house loggia and then the guest house. Again, the pent roof, sort of reminiscent of the style, covering the entrance to the guest house and then the door overlooking the pool. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Questions of the applicant? All right, no questions for the applicant. We'll have the staff report.
Well, actually, I do have a question.
Okay.
So there's always have to be an exception to what I said before. No, just kidding. So the balustrade that is in the existing facade, right at the entrance, is that original or not?
No, we don't believe so.
You don't think so?
No, it's cast stone.
Okay. All right, I was just thinking about it. Thank you.
All right, Benjamin Slaughter presenting HB case 2443 at Averlin Pre-Constructions, additions, alterations for 830 Biscayne Drive. There's the aerial there. I'll go through some of this pretty quick since the applicant covered so well, but property is within the Flamingo Park Historic District. It is an example of a Hansel Hall Mediterranean Revival style home and a contributing structure. Previously, this board approved case 9892 with additions and alterations, new casement windows, French doors, awnings, additional bathroom, and storm shutters. There is a site plan. Photos of the rendering. And these are photos from HP case 9892, which show the condition of the building approximately 27 years ago. The request is for a proposed first-story addition of 355 square feet, proposed accessory structure addition of 292 square feet, proposed loggia of 103 square feet, and the redesign of the front patio. This is the floor plan for the first story, existing and proposed, the north elevation, the south elevation, the west elevation, and the east. We believe this addition alterations does meet codes 9 and 10, the Secretary of Interior's. And they only have one condition for the approval. That's no low E glass on the street facing elevation. If there's any window change out with the PGT there. That is my report.
Thank you. Questions of staff? All right. Is there any public comment for this case? Okay. I don't think we need a rebuttal. Are we okay? Okay. Okay. Is there?
No, the 830, 833
Okay.
kind of gets everybody going. So.
All right, so no rebuttal. We'll move into executive session. Thank you. Well, I think it meets all of our standards quite well. All right, can we have a motion?
All right. I move that the Historic Preservation Board approve application number 24-43, located in 830 Biscayne Drive, for ad valorem pre-construction additions and alterations in accordance with standards 9 and 10 as set forth in section 94-49 of the City Zoning and Land Development Regulations. The motion is based on the testimony presented along with the application submitted and the staff report, which constitute competent substantial evidence. In addition, the approval of this request is made conditional upon the following restrictions, stipulations, and/or safeguards that I move are necessary to ensure compliance with the purpose and intent of the Historic Preservation Ordinance, the historic preservation element of the comprehensive plan of the City of West Palm Beach, the Secretary of the Interior Standards for Rehabilitation, Standards 9 and 10, the additional compatibility criteria set forth in section 94-49 of the City Zoning and Land Development Regulations. The condition include the following: no low E glass on windows and doors on street elevation.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, the motion carries. Congratulations. Thank you. Our next case is case number 24-51 for 605 Avon Road.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for sticking around. It's been a long night for everybody, I imagine. My name's John Niles, here representing property at 605 Avon Road. I'm the current owner. I moved to Florida 21 years ago, or into West Palm Beach. I moved to Flamingo Park, Sunshine Park, and Pineapple Park 17 years ago. Love these houses, love I'm very nostalgic. I love everything about them, and I want to preserve it for the next 100. So that's what I'm trying to do. This is my 15th renovation or restoration in the neighborhood because I enjoy it. 605 is a Mediterranean-style mission, 1920s era home. Current square footage around 1,300 square feet. What I'm looking to do is extend. Oh, sorry. Here, let me just get into the pictures. Do the arrows work? Yeah, there we go. So yeah, single family home. This whole neighborhood is just squeezed in there like sardines. You can see everything's just right on the lot line. The driveway is, I think, about 6 inches away from the property line. On the east side of the property, the building is 1 foot 2 inches away from the property line. What I'm looking to do is a curved, I don't know if you see the pointer here, just a curved carport loggia area at the end of the driveway back of the building. And then on the east side of the property is extend the, yeah, here if we can, sorry, just to go through some of the pictures of the building, you can see what we're dealing with. There's the front of the building, and then this is the east side. On the right-hand side here, you can see everything is just slammed against the property line. So just adding in the back of the, this part of the building, the east side of the building, 8 feet back, but running right along the existing wall line just to maintain continuity of the wall. It's a hollow block tile building, looking just to continue the exact same look right down that wall line, cover it in stucco at the end. And then, you can see the carport proposed on that side. This picture, I think, is upside down, so you can see the original sawtooth back of the building. So this is in the rear of the building here where the existing kitchen is. The street side is where the foyer is. So the proposed addition would be the existing bedroom 1, extend back 8 feet. And then, oh yeah, here's the plan view. So yeah, I just copied off of Ben's square footage just so we had continuity, but I just realized I think some of his numbers might have carried from a previous presentation because these numbers are too large. The east side building addition is only 120 square feet. The carport is 180 square feet. The other alteration to the building was just adding, just to improve livability of the building, because 20 years of being here, I can't remember the last time I had an inkling to start a fire inside a building. So to remove the fireplace and add double French glass doors to the back of the property. So just for a view through to the back property when you enter the building. Again, just elevation drawings here. So existing is on the top, proposed is on the bottom, west side. And the carport, I'm thinking using an exposed pikey cypress ceiling inside. Just a stucco exterior wall and then exposed pecky on the end, on the underside of it. And then, yeah, I included some of this is my last building here. It's 4 doors down, actually. This is 623 Avon Road. I love this style, and that's what I'm aiming for again here. So with this building. So very much that's carbon copy of what I'm trying to do. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Have you reviewed the staff memo and its suggested imposed conditions?
No, I haven't seen that.
Okay, well, one of them may alter your layout because it's and at this point I'm inclined to agree with the staff memo to retain the original chimney located in the rear.
Yeah, I did.
So
see
hopefully you can come up with a backup plan to reconfigure your scheme should the board be in alignment with staff.
I don't need to push anything. Truth be told, I've been doing this for a long time and I'm trying to build this for myself. So
Okay.
I
great.
don't think I would use a fireplace, so that's why I was just thinking it'd be much better use of the space. I understand the historic requirements are number 9 there, but yeah, either way, I'm okay. I don't need to fight that battle.
Okay, thank you. May we have the staff report? Thank you, Mr. Salata.
Benjamin Salata, again presenting HB case 2451's additions, alterations for 605 Avon Road. This is the aerial. And I apologize, it says Flamingo Park on the agenda, but it's Sunshine Park. It's just, we don't get a lot of Sunshine Park, but these are photos of the property, the site plan, and the demolition plan, existing floor plan, and the request. Now, this is one of the fine examples of the Edward R. Ruddy House. Approximately 130 structures in the city. Sunshine Park development began in 1920 by Edward R. U. Ruddy. Both planned neighborhood, constructed many of the residences in the neighborhood. Most of the homes were constructed by 1925, with a second smaller wave construction about 1940. The applicant is requesting a first-story addition of approximately 355 square feet, a proposed carport addition of 292 square feet, and the removal of the existing chimney. This is the south elevation, existing and proposed. The west elevation, the north, and the east. The streetscape, and the codes 9 and 10. Our recommendation is approval of conditions. This is the green card, which shows the chimney is an original part of the property. We believe it should be retained, and the plan should be altered to keep the chimney and the window that surrounds it. Our other recommendation for approval of condition is the windows must be a 6/6 grid if the windows are changed out. And that is my report.
Thank you. Questions of staff? All right, thank you. Is there anyone here for public comment on this case? Okay, seeing none, I don't think we need a rebuttal. But if you have anything you'd like to say in closing?
It's just on the chimney. If there's any discrepancy on that or any variance on that, I would really appreciate having a back door there. I just think it makes the building flow so much better than a chimney that is never going to be used. Even the chimney and everything is not visible from the street back of the property.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, we'll move into executive session.
I'm fine with the application, and I would be ready to make a motion to approve it based on staff recommendation.
Okay, I think we're ready for the motion.
Which is incorporating a 6/6 grid pattern for the window lights, sir. And the board, I'm making a motion to approve it based on the retention of the chimney. So, I move that Historic Preservation Board approve application number 24-51 for alterations and additions in accordance with standards 9 and 10 as set forth in section 9449 of the city's zoning and land development regulations. The motion is based on the testimony presented along with the application submitted and the staff report, which constitute competent, substantial evidence. In addition, the approval of this request is made conditional upon the following restrictions, stipulations, and/or safeguards that I move are necessary to ensure compliance with the purpose and intent of the Historic Preservation Ordinance, the historic preservation element of the comprehensive plan of the City of West Palm Beach, the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation, specifically standards 9 and 10, which state the additional specifically, I got lost, sorry. 9 and 10. The conditions include the following. Condition 1, the proposed windows must meet 6/6 grids. And 2, to retain the original chimney, thus not approving new doors in the existing living room.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Thank you. All right, and our last case for the evening is case number 24-52 for 263 Barcelona Road. Thank you for waiting with us.
Our pleasure. We actually like to watch the hearings even if we don't attend. I'm Russell Rosicki, architect, here with Walter Hyde Architect, representing the interest of Frank and Annabelle Seminara, a newly married couple who wants to move south from Jupiter. This project, I'll just give you a brief back history on it. I was the original architect for a staff-approved design, which was for renovations, minor adjustments for windows. The client was from the Hamptons, Northeast in New York, and this was going to be kind of a vacation home for them. They had gotten started with the project. Budget concerns kind of immediately presented themselves for one reason or another. The project was left unfinished for some period of time, where I would come in a few months at a time just to check on the progress, and nothing had occurred. The interior had kind of been gutted, stripped by then. A lot of our drawings, we had called for plaster to be maintained on the inside, and owners take their preference. They, kind of go their own way. But be it as it may, the project kind of came to a halt. And then we were engaged by a potential buyer where we had walked the home and kind of established, the home and its merits and its qualities and its possible options for expansion. I've become friends with this home. I've known it since May of 2022 or a little bit earlier than that. I've been here probably 30 times. I know the street very well and the surrounding streets as well. So our proposed design is to add on 980 square feet as a two-story addition to the primary residence, which is all two-story currently, and then 197 square feet to this side of the guest house, the east side. The existing floor areas, I'll just note, 2556 and a two-story guest house of 749. I have a few pictures for you to see. This is from the southeast looking northwest. This is from kind of the rear yard towards the guest house at the north side looking southwest. And this is from a balcony that was not original to the home, that in the staff approval originally we requested to demolish it. And it has since been removed, that you can see in this photo at the back here as well. So I do have the original staff-approved application, if it's necessary to reference that or look at what was previously approved versus where we are today. But today, and first, I'll focus on what our proposed addition is as highlighted. Again, we have a two-story proposed addition at the rear of the existing contributing home, which you'll see in a moment. The streetscape doesn't show much adjustment. It's a very light modification to front-facing. And the detached structure, this structure, I just want to note quickly, is 12 and a half feet separation between the primary home and the detached structure. So our proposed design does not hinge on the fact of a detached bonus, even though there is a detached structure here. We did explore the possible option of relocating this detached structure to obtain the 15 feet, but found it wasn't necessary, and we were happy with this proposed addition as you see it. We do have a stair that comes out of the rear detached structure. Since we have these ample setbacks, unlike most homes that are with a detached structure, they're usually closer to the lot lines, right? This one has some pretty big setbacks. So the green I highlighted for easier understanding for the board tonight is previously staff-approved items and demolitions. So this is a demolition plan. Yellow is modifications to that former approval. I wanted to make this very simple for you guys to understand. We have the first floor plan. What we'd like to do in the foyer here is at the back side of this foyer. This was originally kind of an open screen foyer with the original entrance over here with the door that had been relocated. I do believe it to be the original door. And then some former owner had enclosed this outdoor screened area, right, at some former time. What we'd like to do is actually remove 2 windows at the back side of this. You'll notice there's kind of an architectural pilaster column that will be kept. And then if we make our way through the home, all the rooms stay in their current location at the first floor, with exception to a former stair that had been removed where this pantry is. This home actually had mirrored stairs, and the previous owner had requested they be removed. So we maintained 1 center stair. The dining room is in the center. It kind of leads its way from these French doors that in-swing with French screen doors that outswing. Those are original. And then this goes to a terrace that is open air. Previously, at some point, this had been, I assume, a pergola or some shaded kind of structure to the east. The kitchen stays in its same location. My current client had a need for additional living space. We provided a great room to be added on and a laundry room. There hadn't been a sizable laundry room in the existing home. So the laundry room is a rather, I would say fairly sized. It's not overly large. And the great room is also fairly sized for the size of the property as well. Our second story bedrooms do stay in the same original and current location. We did make modification to what I would call some previous funk that I had designed for a former client with angled walls and such on the interior. So my new client has decided to straighten out the walls and make more a rectilinear run of circulation, making its way back to the north side of the house where we have our addition, which is an additional bedroom. So the main and primary home has 4 bed and 4 bath as proposed. The detached structure is 1 bedroom and 1 bathroom as proposed. Our flat roof makes a continuity connection of an existing flat roof. And then we continue to the back structure, which has a hip roof at a lower ridge height than the primary. Here you'll see comparisons of elevations. You have the south elevation with highlights as a part of our green design standard. I can go back to mention that in a moment, but it is on the front page of our title sheet. We do have awnings at all windows and doors, south and east. And areas where artwork would primarily be located. My client currently is an artwork collector and would like to, obviously we can't introduce low E windows, we have no plans for it on the south facing, but we would like to have some form of shade cover to reduce ultraviolet light to come into the home. So awnings are the most appropriate here. What I'd like to mention is this home is rather unique in terms of the types of muntins, the shape of the windows, the function of the windows, and we recognize that this project also was held up by another application where the previous owner had tried to request direct replacement of windows and doors, but they could not get that right. They kind of bypassed us as the architect and didn't rely on us to assist them with the window and door design, which was a separate permit request. So what I'd like to say today and out loud is that We have pictures of all the original windows. They're all actually locked shut and sealed tight. They don't function as you see them today. They've been painted over. The original windows were white. Someone painted them over with a Celadon green. We do plan to replicate all windows and doors that you see on this front facade with impact-rated versions of the same style and what would be function. And we'll match sashes, we'll match muntins, and windows do not get enlarged, they, either in width or in height. It's literally a direct replacement. If we compare the north elevation, you'll see our rear addition. We've introduced a bay window off of the kitchen and also off of the great room to establish some depth in the space. This is a view looking west. I would say the most significant, historically contributing components of this home is the sequence and location and size and shape of these doors. These are actually full-height square door, rectangular doors on the inside. The stucco makes an arched head for them. So from the outside, you think these were arch-top doors. They're actually not. They're rectangular doors with kind of arched trim and stucco and banding in front of them with the screen doors that are outswing. We would keep those screen doors, and we would have impact-rated swing arch-top doors, which are hard to come by. I'm sorry, not arch doors, but we'll have doors that will resemble in the same shape and form as this arch. Our doors and windows are going to be a combination of ES windows and doors and La Fenestra as needed for functional arch tops, which you would see at the guest house structure. We have a combination. The doors actually have a built-up flat muntin. The windows have pointed muntins. And this is a view for the west elevation, actually, if you're looking east. And the great room would be at the first story here. And we maintain the windows as they rise up the stair. That's kind of a key feature, where this has a barreled roof sloping with the stairway, making its way to the second story. So I do have some pictures I'd like to just share real quick in case anyone would like to reference them, but you can kind of see these doors in this arrangement close up. The pointed muntins on the windows. What we would like to do is actually paint these eaves to be, dark espresso, and verify the condition of the gutters for either a repaint or a possible replacement throughout. Here's a few more photos. And this is a closer up picture of the guest house, this being an arch-top door. Kind of hard to come by with function without a company like La Fenestra with archtop, and then these archtop windows to match. The windows were broken apart into 3 components. I have no reason to believe that these are the original arrangement of windows. Matter of fact, here I would have more of a reason to believe that the original framework is the center portion of the window. But we would like to reuse that same opening. This is some photos in the rear, and then also on that second story balcony over the guest house. Here's drawings for that guest house addition. You have this new stair at the north side that leads you up to the second story. And then your first floor, we have an interior stair that since the stair was brought exterior, you have some means of getting down from the second story to the first floor and vice versa. The bedroom is located where the new addition is, and there's a living space. I think it's a very modestly sized guest house, and with a 1-bedroom arrangement, I think it's kind of a practical request. What I'd like to point out and also receive feedback from the board tonight is the height for our proposed addition adjacent to the existing second story. We had made a decision, architecturally speaking, Walter and I, and with Cheyenne in our office, that we obviously had the option of matching the same barreled coping height. These barrel tiles are kind of affixed to the face of what is a flat overhanging eave. with a low sloping flat roof that pitches towards the back. These kind of only trace the south, east, and west sides of the second story portion, but we had made the decision that elevating was necessary for two reasons. One, to distinguish between old and new or proposed, and then two, also to obtain a ceiling height that was usable for structural reasons. If you were to kind of drop it, then you'd have head heights that wouldn't match. You'd have a ceiling height that's, less than 7 feet. So this maintains what we believe is a minimum ceiling height, but also architecturally speaking, something that is proper to distinguish between old and new. And then here you're seeing the north view with that outside stair, and again, the awnings all around. We have our cross section here. For the main home, we have a ceiling height of 9.5, which matches the existing ceiling height. For the addition, ceiling height matches the existing at 9 feet on the second story. We've provided a streetscape elevation. You kind of get a little slice view on the left side of that addition that's way off to the back, northwest side, and then you see the second story addition at the guest house. And I tried to do a Google Street capture, giving you a better understanding of the homes adjacent. We believe the best matching roof tile to this home is Jacobia color by Varia tiles. It's actual barrel tile, and we'd like to use that for our addition. And then I won't bore you with these other photos since it's getting late, but I'll just quickly include them. We had done some historic precedent research of 2 stories that formed in a block nature for a detached structure within the neighborhood and found it to be very common. We have the old application with the old drawings as previously approved by staff, just for reference. And that concludes our presentation.
Thank you. Questions of the applicant?
Yes, doctor. Is there a reason why you have a different shaped awning on the front facade from the others? Is that because of the blind transom?
That's correct, yes.
Do you think your client would be adverse to making it consistent with the others in a more rectilinear fashion?
No, I don't think he would have an opposition to that. Neither would we.
I have a question about that 3-part window where the awning was just in question. I apologize if I missed it. Oh, you were
Sorry,
on the,
I'll go back.
Yeah, that
Sorry.
one. No.
Oh, right here?
No, the one that had the different awning.
Oh,
Yeah.
right here. Yep.
And again, I apologize if I missed this because you did have a very thorough presentation, but the sill height is different between the existing and proposed. Do you see that the space between the bottom of the bracket and the grade line is different on that window
Yes, I can
grouping?
absolutely confirm that. That must be a drawing error where something got stretched inadvertently. What I can confirm with certainty is that that did not change. It's still original.
Okay.
You can still see it today. We have no intention to change that.
Okay. And then, is there a detail for that, the bay window that you're adding, like the stucco detail that you're proposing on these bay window elements?
On this bay window that's here?
Yes, I'm trying to understand the stucco detailing that you're presenting along with that.
Yeah, so this is a wood frame structure. It has a 2x6 framed wall. We have the details in our previous set, which was approved for building permit. We actually received building comments to provide more detail for the bay window, but I think I would be better off describing it. Let me go back to our proposed bay windows on plan, and then I can describe it to you. Hopefully that would help. Okay, so what we had done is, and this is currently set up structurally for it, the floor framing actually extends out. It's in cantilever. The foundation does not follow the base of it. And then you have framing that follows, 2x6 framing that follows over and lands on the cantilevered framing underneath. So the stucco is, it would be placed over the sheathing with a 30-pound felt, and then the diamond mesh, and then the stucco to match the existing home. We do have a barrel tile roof that sits over that bay window, and the same method is applied for this window.
So my question relates more to the aesthetic and design of the stucco detailing itself, not the tectonics of like the bay window construction. So you have a bay window that projects, and then you have a step sill, and then like a flat protrusion from the wall.
Correct.
Stucco?
Yes.
Okay. Would you be open to revisiting that detail?
Absolutely.
I had the same questions, sorry, about the awnings, because, you know, I understand the logic of what you are trying to do, but in the south elevation, you know, I can see that different awning because there are three arch motifs about those three windows, but on the one on the right, there are three arch transoms, right? So why that awning is different to the one on the left, right? Because the second floor, you have flat, you know, windows, right? Rectangular windows. So I can see why you would choose that design. But then on the first floor, I don't see why those two are different, because you are kind of negating in some way the fact that you have three transoms above those doors, right? That was one comment. You can answer if you want.
Yeah, I think that's fair to question, and actually, with a second look, I can actually agree with your comment. I would like to actually make it straight to match at this time.
My second question is regarding the west elevation. I really like, I really like the three. I understand the three small windows that follow the stair, and then you remove the other stair right on the left of that, and that is probably the reason that you remove that window, the smaller window. Exactly.
That's correct. That's at the midpoint. Yes, and that had
It's
been
not possible to keep it even though one match what is inside.
Yeah, thank you for asking. That window has been removed. That was approved with the prior staff approval. It has been filled in, and that window is no longer present.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Additional questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll now have the staff report.
All right, Benjamin Slot presenting HP case 2452, additions alterations for 263 Barcelona Road. I'll be quick since the applicant did a very thorough job, knows his plan very well. Here's the aerial and photos of the front house. This house is located in the El Cid Historic District. It's also known as the Ernest Webb and Lucida Wilcox House, and was entered into the National Register of Historic Places on August 31st, 1995. It is an excellent example of Italian Renaissance-inspired architecture that features round arch openings framed with composite pilasters on the first floor and decorative window openings, which project sills on the second floor. These are photos as provided by the applicant. This is the site plan and the streetscape, the demolition plan, the floor plan for first and second floor proposed. The request is proposed two-story addition to primary structure of 980 square feet, proposed addition of accessory structure approximately 197 square feet. The south elevation existing is proposed. The west elevation the north elevation, and the east. This is the roof plan. This is the accessory structure on all elevations, existing and proposed. The floor plan for the accessory structure. And we do believe this meets codes 9 and 10. Like you all, I believe that one awning was a drafting error more than anything else. And we recommend its approval. Any questions for staff?
I think we're all set.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Is anyone here from the public that wishes to speak? Again, thank you for waiting. Thank you. And if you'll state your name and address for the record, please.
Karen Steele, and I live at 267 Barcelona, which means I'm directly west of the house. And I'm glad I came because I had no idea what the proposal was. I've gone through 2 years of watching them tear apart the house, both inside and then tear out the windows and do all sorts of things, and then nothing happening. So this is new. A lot of the pictures that were shown were before some of the renovations, nothing substantial. But I had no idea that they're looking at doing a two-story addition, which would be, I just don't know how there's enough space on that lot to do that addition. How many feet is that? The number of, because I've lived in my house for 37, 38 years, and there wouldn't seem like there is that much room, unless you tell me how many feet it is, that this two-story addition, how many feet to the north side that there is to put that addition on. And it doesn't look like it is. It looks like it is set even a bit to the west. I mean, literally, I doubt that there is 10 feet between the property line and the house now. And so, I mean, that really is going to substantially change that west side of the house.
I actually think if the applicant could answer a question, that would be helpful. I have the site plan pulled up, and if you could just review the setback.
Yeah, I can.
And then if you could also review the cumulative setbacks that are required by code.
Sure.
You need your plan?
Yeah, if you don't mind. So our proposed addition is 5'2" setback from the lot line, and the cumulative setback is considerable. We have 32 feet 1 plus 5'2", so you'd be at 37'3". Let me just, sorry, just trying to zoom in here properly. Okay, the side yard setback minimum on one side can be 5 feet. The existing is 7 feet 10 inches. We're proposing 5'2".
May I ask a question?
I'm sorry, what was that?
May I ask a question?
Yes.
What is the, what's the space between the new addition proposed and the lot line, and the end of the lot line, which is on the north side?
At the north side of the addition, is that your question? We have 15'9" as our setback.
So you got 15 feet to the lot line
15
from,
feet,
from
9
the new
inches.
addition.
From the new addition to the north lot line.
Right.
From your lot line to the west, we have 5
5
feet
feet.
too. It's actually very privately designed in the sense that this great room is mostly focused towards their courtyard. There's no windows facing on the first story
Mhm.
towards your side. And on the second story, there's 2 windows that would be beside a bedside table.
Mhm. It's going to be a huge change. If you consider 5 feet all the way down on the west side, and then only 15 feet from the other neighbor. And I would think that the other neighbor, if they had seen this, would have been here behind them.
I could recognize your concern. And for our client, it's the preservation of the yard space and courtyard, obviously with respect to the original home, without kind of taking up the midpoint of that backyard. Uniquely, this property is kind of north-south oriented, so their side yard is essentially their backyard in this case. And I could just say that the current owner is much more meaningfully interested in living at this property. It's going to be a primary residence. It sounds like to me that they're going to be a good neighbor. And I could say we'll do everything we can planting-wise. If I recall, along that west side between the property line, it's a very dense landscaping and planting buffer that's currently present. But I could also speak to my client to even consider such things as fan palms or something that is much taller to allow the privacy without you feeling imposed upon.
Enclosed. Really, no, it's a tight space. I'm surprised because we have a little. It's not a guest house. It's a pool house there that would be contingent with it, and we had looked at many years ago adding a second floor to that to put a little apartment on, and we were not allowed to do that. And so now this would tower over that.
It certainly has proximity to your detached structure, I would agree.
Yeah. Well, and right now, what is there is just our fence, they planted palms, somebody planted palms somewhere along the line, and I guess the new owners who never proceeded with it, or the older owners, the most recent owners who bought it, demolished it, and then haven't done, and then now sold it.
I'm sure they would go out of their way
we've just got things falling down all the time.
I agree. The home is left in a disrepair state, and it's been terrible. I'm excited that someone's interested in living there as a primary residence, and I'll be sure to speak to them to voice your concerns with buffering and privacy.
Yeah.
Yes,
I mean,
so-
it's a great old house.
I'll just ask that if you could continue to be in communication with the neighbor and keep her, I mean, we haven't made any kind of motion yet, but if you will keep her, fully abreast of updates and things like that, and also just an open line of communication so that hopefully you can come to an agreement in terms of screening should this application move forward.
Yeah, and I would say if the board sees it fit for the neighbor that's present this evening, in consideration of a buffer or a landscape buffer, that helps. We would be amicable to that too.
Landscape is not under our purview.
I
so,
understand, but it could be some form of buffering.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you're going to do that if you've only got 5 feet. I don't know what you're going to do.
Okay, I think we probably need to move on from this issue.
So we have exceeded the public comment portion. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Responding. And I think that was also your rebuttal wrapped into one. Okay. We have a nod of approval. All right, thank you. Seeing no one else here for public comment. Oh, is there any further public comment behind the, okay. So no other public comment. We'll move into executive session. So I'll just speak to the neighbors' concerns for a moment, and if city council thinks otherwise, it appears that the proposed alterations and additions meet code, and then it is the purview of our board to make sure that they meet our compatibility standards, in terms of massing and likewise. It doesn't seem like we have further discussion. Does someone want to try a motion?
I'm not sure where we landed on the awnings. I know I don't want to nitpick on that, but I see that on the east elevation, there's also the triplicate window with the arch, that they go into individual arched awnings that kind of match that, because a continuous awning would not allow for the ironwork support of the balcony above. So I don't know if my colleagues are amenable to incorporating the individual arched awnings on all ground floor circular openings. I don't know if you see what I'm referring to. Or does anyone have an opinion on that one way or another?
Would you also be including the front door as well? They also have the individuals.
Yes, I mean, I think that all of the arched openings, the front south elevation, the Trinity windows, the Trinity opening, and then the east elevation Trinity windows should have the same awning.
Yeah, I think we can make it a condition that there's a consistent expression for that kind of window grouping. So whether they want to make them all the same kind, preferably not the one where they're joined and then the one that's currently on the left, but whether they're the three separate expressions that all, or the one larger like sphere type, or if you just remove it at a location, like if you removed it on the side where it doesn't fit with the support above. But if we can have a consistent treatment, I think we can use that language.
I have one more thing. So looking at the west elevation, which is the subject elevation of expansion, right? So the new roof is exactly the same elevation of the existing roof. I wouldn't go up because that is gonna be worst. However, looking at the section, there is only 9 feet ceilings on the second floor. So I am not sure that something can be done to lower that roof at least 6 inches, because I don't know if you can maintain, and this is probably a question to the applicant, but if we lower the fascia by 6 inches, if you can maintain the interior ceilings at 9, maybe by playing with the rafters or something. And just to bring it down and differentiate the new with the old, right? That I think that will help a little bit also with the neighbor being 6 inches, at least 6 inches lower.
Yeah, I do. It does seem like you'd be able to situate your trusses and that detailing differently to express that without losing the ceiling height.
Okay?
Okay.
Okay. So that is another condition.
Okay, so differentiating the roof height, that location.
By 6 inches.
By lowering it 6 inches. Okay. All right, I think we have a couple of additional conditions. May we have a motion?
Yes. Mr. Murphy?
On it. Okay. Give me 1 minute to get my bearings. So staff had no conditions.
Staff did not have conditions.
Sorry?
Staff did not have conditions.
Had no conditions, right. Okay. I shall move that the Historic Preservation Board approve application number 2452 for alterations and additions in accordance with standards 9 and 10, as set forth in section 9449 of the city's zoning and land development regulations. The motion is based on the testimony presented along with the application submitted and the staff report, which constitute competent, substantial evidence. Further, in addition to the approval of this request is made conditional upon the following restrictions, stipulations, and/or safeguards that I move are necessary to ensure compliance with the purpose and intent of the Historic Preservation Ordinance, the Historic Preservation element of the Comprehensive Plan of the City of West Palm Beach, the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation, specifically standards 9 and 10, the conditions include the following: that the applicant differentiate the roof height of the new two-story addition by a minimum of 6 inches, and second, that the expression of all ground floor awnings along circular window openings are consistent in type along the south and east elevation.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
All right, the motion carries. Thank you. All right, and with that, we need a motion to adjourn.
I move the board to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.